it's good to be back after a week break here at the SportsCage. I'm Teagan Witko, your Monday host of the show, and I am joined alongside voice of your Saskatchewan Roughriders, Dave Thomas, and of course, Colson, keeping everything straight over there, our producer of the SportsCage. Thank you for taking some time. Appreciate you joining us. Hope you're all filled with turkey and Nanaimo bars and all the good things that the holiday season brings. How was your Christmas there, Dave?
It was fantastic. And now that you mentioned Nanaimo bars, not a single one.
No?
No.
What is wrong?
It's like coal in my stocking. I don't know. Like, what was with that? I didn't get the Nanaimo bars.
That is not okay.
Fail.
That is a fail of a Christmas celebration. I cannot believe that. By the way, Colson, who had ended up winning our festive feast?
That was pierogies.
That is the most Saskatchewan winner, and I absolutely love it.
It was a final between pierogies and cabbage rolls. So yeah, most Saskatchewan possible.
I would expect nothing less. I love that. Yeah, over the holiday season, of course, Barney got this thing rolling here with Colson, and we whittled it down to the winner. So how about pierogies? You eat any of those?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah?
We found a new recipe.
Oh, boy.
Online for a pierogi casserole.
Okay.
Now, that's Saskatchewan right there, isn't it?
That truly
There's
is.
a lot of boxes you've checked with the pierogi casserole. Fantastic.
And you sat down and watched Team Canada at the World Juniors while you were eating that, I imagine.
Yeah. Sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
Well, there's a little controversy there. We'll get to that throughout the show. But all of our guests are joining us on the Western Pizza Guest Hotline throughout the afternoon. It is the pizza known worldwide for a reason, loaded with toppings of Western Canadian ingredients and always cooked to perfection. So a little bit later on, we are going to have a little year in review with our pal Gary Brotzel of the Regina Red Sox. It was a big year for them, obviously winning the league. They dealt with a lot of ups and downs this past summer. So we're going to, take a little bit of a look back, and we're also going to look ahead with new ownership taking over the team in 2026. I know it feels weird to be talking baseball this time of year, but hey, we love baseball.
We love baseball.
We love the Regina Red Sox. Mm-hmm. It's never a bad time to talk ball. Justin Dunk is going to be joining us from 3 Down Nation. Again, still a little strange to talk CFL at this time of year, but man, it was a big year for football here in Saskatchewan. I mean, not only with the Riders winning the Grey Cup, also hosting the Vanier Cup.
Yes.
And Stuart Johnston comes in and makes a lot of changes.
You really like talking about those changes, don't you?
You know what? I'm not the only one.
You're not.
You been on Twitter recently?
You are correct in that assessment.
But of course, it was it was a big year for football here in Saskatchewan. So we're going to dive into that and talk about some off-season moves and trades and what things look like with the Saskatchewan Roughriders. Of course, Sam Emelis signing a 2-year deal with the Saskatchewan Roughriders just in time for Christmas. I know there was a lot of people excited about that.
Christmas Eve.
Christmas Eve.
Present to us all. And it's a 2-year deal, which is fantastic.
Most outstanding Canadian, 112th Grey Cup. So he's back in Rider Nation. We'll talk a little bit about those contract specifics because I have never sat at a negotiating table before, Dave, and I might need him to explain it to me like I'm 5.
Yeah, probably have to bring out the coloring book and stuff like that for me to explain it because I don't understand. I can see where it comes from. I understand the deal. I get that. But the rest of it, that's somebody else's domain.
We'll have him break that down for us. Darian Durant also going to come talk football.
Yeah. We'll have to. I wonder. So when Phillip Rivers goes back, right, comes back, what is he, 40, right? Is that right?
44.
44. You think there's a little piece of Darian saying, just maybe.
You think he's going to come back?
Darian? Well, no, I'm just wondering. I'm not suggesting he's coming back. I'm suggesting that I'm just wondering if in a professional athlete, and Luke Mullender, if he's listening right now, is going to be jumping up and down because he says any athlete that tells you they've got one play left, guess what? They don't have a play left. But I just wonder, right? You see a guy that's 44, and Darian looks pretty healthy, pretty fit, pretty active. He knows the game. Like, is there ever a little piece of him like, oh boy, I wonder. Just one more year.
I mean, there might be some vacancies with the Saskatchewan Roughriders. I know they've re-signed Trevor Harris. We got our short yardage specialist, but then what?
Well, that's true. Jack Cohn and Jake Mayer are eligible to become free agents in February.
And we still have yet to hear any official news on that. You might need to take a trip down to Florida and go convince Darian. You want to do some scouting for the Riders now, too? You're not doing enough.
You're in.
So Darian Durant swinging by just after 5 o'clock. We also have Pat's Chat. So Associate Head Coach Ryan Smith will be joining the program. Of course, we're going to talk about this first half of the WHL season for the Regina Pats. Of course, they just had a back-to-back with the Saskatoon Blades coming off the Christmas break. Unfortunately, unsuccessful in those first two contests. But they are back on the ice for New Year's Eve. So it's going to be this Wednesday night.
Toughest two games of any season, I would submit, in the Western Hockey League, because you don't have the normal preparation time. You've got guys coming back into town. And I think when you've got a young team like the Regina Pats, you have to keep in mind that a lot of these guys are away from home for the first time, right?
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, you get home, you're with family, with your friends, with familiarity, and now you got to flip the switch and get back.
Not to mention the turkey hangover.
Well, that's very true. Or pierogi casserole hangover, whichever one you want to go down.
Or Nanaimo bars.
Yes.
There's a multitude of things that it could be.
Well, I've heard in December that Nanaimo bars are always calorie-free, so there's nothing to worry about there.
Most things are calorie-free in December, Dave.
True that.
Depends who you ask, though.
True.
Speaking of the Regina Pats, we also do have tickets to give away for the New Year's Eve game. Moose Jaw Warriors are in town, so if you join in the conversation on the Prairie Land Rentals text line, we'll toss you into the draw. How about that?
That's easy enough for me.
Super simple. Join the conversation anytime, whether it's something that, Dave and I are discussing with Colson, or maybe you have a suggested question for one of our guests that'll be popping on. Maybe there's something for Darian Durant that you want us to ask. We'll consider it. No promises.
Hey.
Let's be kind.
You are always welcome.
Prairie Land Rentals text line. Whatever you need to rent to get the job done, Prairie Land Rentals probably has it. Also an official Husqvarna snow thrower dealer. Deal with the owner at 600 Albert Street. Now, Team Canada, their men's hockey team roster is going to be announced on New Year's Eve as well. So that's something to be watching out for. And I think we know who the captain's going to be.
Sidney Crosby?
Unless you think there's a better fit.
No, I don't think so. Connor McDavid has publicly stated a number of times it's going to be Sidney Crosby's team.
It has to be.
One last time.
Yeah, because this is, the last chance.
This is his last.
Again, assuming that the games happen, given all the situations over the pond and with the rig. Have we had an update on that, by the way?
No, everything was to remain quiet for a couple of weeks on that. We're going to supposedly get an update coming up this weekend.
I don't know.
I don't know what they're going to tell you. Like, we're doing our best to get it done, right? Isn't that the only update that there is? Like,
there's so many people stressing out about this.
Well, not in North America.
Well, no, but the Olympic Committee, they're probably not having a dandy time over there.
There is absolutely no way. There is no way that the NHL players are not going to go. They are going.
Yeah.
They just may not be able to play in that building, but they will find a way. Like, the NHL has gone ahead and blanked out their schedule for 2.5 weeks in February. Like,
and they also condensed their schedule in other places.
They're not just going to go ahead, we're done, we're out, we're walking away. They can't do that. They can say that they're going to do that, which is the negotiating card they have to play from a guy who doesn't negotiate. But you got to believe they're going.
Yeah, at this point, they have to. We're too deep into the weeds at this point. But yes, we will have an official look at that roster a little bit later on this week, and I'm excited to see. I also know that there's going to be those people who are, let's say, snubbed, or at least the internet will think that there are some people who are snubbed. I don't have any predictions on that just yet, but if anybody else does, 306-936-6262 on the Prairie Land Rentals text line. I'm also excited for this upcoming weekend. We have the Whalers and Nordiques facing each other again.
Yes, that's going to be awesome. I love that idea.
Those jerseys look so good.
Yeah.
I loved when they played. November? I think they had their first matchup.
Yes, that of course Carolina and Colorado.
Yeah.
But did you know that Colorado? I'm sure we've talked about this. That Colorado has got permission to wear the Quebec jerseys in Montreal when they go to play in Montreal.
Oh, that's cool.
That will be the coolest of all time.
That is going to rake in so much money.
Oh, you're not kidding.
Are they bringing like a satellite store with them?
Because, they should bring just a truck and just back it up and
unload.
People in Montreal won't buy, but the Quebecois that will come to the game just to see it will.
Oh, 100%. But that's, one of the things that jumped off the page at me this week. I'm really looking forward to that one. If nothing more than just to see those jerseys on the ice, because it's so nostalgic and it's such a cool way to pay homage to their roots. But there was also lots of football that took place over this past weekend. I just want to start off here quickly with the College Bowl games. Did you watch any of them?
I somehow stumbled upon the Pop-Tart Bowl. Is that what it's called? Yeah, Pop-Tart Bowl. It didn't sound right in my head, but...
Well, there was also the Snoop Dogg Bowl. I don't think that's what the official name was.
But it might as well be, yeah.
Yeah.
Arizona Bowl.
Arizona Bowl.
Yeah.
The Snoop Dogg Bowl. He also was doing a sideline interview and then caught the kick. Oh, yeah, here he is on the stream right now. So, yeah, they kicked off. He's in the middle of an interview with the sideline reporter and then runs out, grabs the ball, hits the turf because I don't think he wanted to actually get hit by a pass.
No, right. He was standing at the end of the end zone and just hopped out and went for it. I give him credit.
I do too. Man, he is everywhere. You just cannot escape Snoop Dogg. But I kind of love that he has his own bowl game that he sponsors. The Pop-Tart Bowl.
The Pop-Tart Bowl is something else, yeah.
That, I did not watch any of it, but the sheer amount of clips that came out on the internet after this game, they take this to a whole new level. Yeah. There are often a lot of these sponsors I find that will come into college football and, they'll sponsor a bowl and basically it's just slapping their logo on stuff. Not Pop-Tarts.
Oh, no.
Oh, man. It had no right being this funny.
No, and you know what? You got to give the creativity. And... it's something like that Pop-Tart Bowl, right? So again, if you're watching the stream on YouTube or at sportscage.com or over on X, you would see the Pop-Tarts that go into this giant toaster that they created as part of the ambiance of the game, if you will, right?
Yeah, right on the field.
Understand why the Stampede Bowl and the Banjo Bowl maybe have a little bit of, hey, this is the idea that maybe we can go ahead and scoop it to create a little bit extra momentum. And until last year, I'm not going to kid you, you can go back and check out the podcast because I was skeptic of all skeptics when it came to the Stampede Bowl. But boy, did that work out nicely.
Oh, yeah. And that's a prime opportunity for a creative marketing team to jump in and do something really cool, fun, and unique with it. Like even this Pop-Tart Bowl, the trophy was a functioning toaster.
Yes. Isn't that awesome? Not just a wedding gift anymore. It's now built for bowl games in the U.S.
Yeah, and I will say all of the antics did not disappoint. No. Can't tell you much about the game, though. It was just pure marketing genius. I loved that. And then in the NFL, any surprises that crossed your mind over the weekend?
I'm a little bit surprised at Buffalo. Mm-hmm. What happened to Buffalo? I honestly thought Buffalo was a Super Bowl contender at one point. But
I think Josh Allen is definitely making a case for himself.
Yeah, but
the rest of the team
up against Philadelphia, and again, nothing against Philly. It's just I'm a Cowboys fan, so that one hurts. But yeah, I'm surprised there. I'm not surprised that Aaron Rodgers is kind of. I would say he's fizzling a little bit. The numbers may not suggest that, but
they choked this weekend.
Oh, they did not play well.
No,
but I would suggest that I didn't. I think he's starting to fade a little bit. And that's starting to affect the team. But again, remember at one point the crowd was calling to fire Mike Tomlin.
Yeah.
Then they all of a sudden get back into the conversation and then they forget to show up.
We have no idea what that's like.
No.
Everybody going after management and the coaches.
Hey, fans were booing Corey Mace during the West Final when he put the punt unit out, not once, but twice.
Yeah.
That turnabout, didn't it?
Yeah. Oh, man. But you know what? They got the ring. That's what counts.
Again, you can't go ahead and criticize it, right? But that's the fickle nature sometimes.
And you know what? We are going to talk about some of those wild moments from a year that it was for the Saskatchewan Roughriders. I think Dave and I are going to dive into this with a couple of our guests as well, but we're going to pull up some of those iconic moments from the 2025 Grey Cup champion season with the Saskatchewan Roughriders, because there are so many. The more and more we talked about this pre-show, the more of them that came to mind and the more that we remember. How did we forget about that?
Yeah. No, there was a lot of defining moments that really aren't defining moments. You know what I mean?
Yeah. But it definitely... It was a memorable season, to say the least.
For sure.
Now, in the NFL, there's also a lot of quarterbacks who like to give their offensive line presents.
Yes.
Right, for the holidays. I thought this one was interesting. Joe Burrow, and I'm biased because I'm a Bengals fan.
Yeah.
Even though they were knocked out of playoff contention and suddenly they remember how to win games. Anyway, he gifted all of his offensive linemen authentic dinosaur, bear, and mammoth fossils. That might be the most unique Christmas gift I've heard of a quarterback giving to their teammates.
I'm just saying that if I'm a friend of any of those offensive linemen on Facebook Marketplace, you probably are going to find a couple.
It's a very niche present.
It is. It
seemed to work out well, though. Bengals offensive lineman Cody Ford. Now, that might not be a name that jumps off the page at most people, but he lined up as an outside wide receiver. Joe Burrow threw it to him for a 21-yard gain. This is an offensive lineman. If you're seeing this on the stream right now, there he has it, running down the field. That's pretty cool.
Very cool.
You don't see that very often. They ended up winning, and it was on his birthday. It was on Cody Ford's birthday.
You know that there is some money on the line in the locker room for that, right? As soon as the install came in, if you make that play and get X number of yards, I'm sure that was discussed in the room.
Oh, that was some good luck for the Bengals because they ended up winning that one 37-14.
Mm-hmm.
So Chargers quarterback Justin Herbert apparently did not gift his offensive lineman anything. And coincidence? I don't know.
Yeah. Ouch.
5 sacks against the Texans. Buy presents for the people who protect you.
True.
That's the lesson to be learned here. Let me see other things that might be kind of fun to talk about here. The Ravens, they were rocking some cheese grater hats on the sidelines after beating the Packers.
Yeah, that was pretty cool.
It's that time of year, though, where the playoff race is heating up. There are some of those teams that can just kind of kick back, relax, and have fun rather than be stressed all the time.
Yeah.
Now, we should also talk a little bit of World Juniors here because there is a poll up right now that's getting some people talking at SportsCage.com.
Oh, I'm just rubbing my hands together for this.
I know you were waiting for this one.
I was at hockey rinks all weekend long, and this is a huge point of conversation. So it all stems, there is controversy, and it all stemmed from game number 1. And I'm going to leave it at that because I want you to weigh in on whether or not you think that Team Canada has some apologizing to do. Is this a sign of what is Team Canada and something to come, or is this something we should blow off? I'll tell you, a lot of people at the rink, they said some very, very interesting things, including the ultimate disrespect. I'll leave it there.
Text us on the Prairie Land Rentals text line and give us your input, 306-936-6262. And, of course, you can always vote at sportscage.com. Let us know what you thought about Canada's captain getting penalized like that.
Yeah, so Porter Martone gets penalized at the end of the game for a little tush tap on an opponent after he scores an empty net goal. Canada also in the warm-up before the game even started, crossing center ice, hitting the Czech players, and then didn't even shake hands after the game.
That's the one that's getting people, I think, is the lack of shaking hands, right?
Well, okay, so right now, if that is the poll question at sportscage.com, Canada's come under scrutiny of the World Juniors for doing this. How do you feel about it? So far, leading the way with more than 57% of the vote is it shows a lack of discipline that is costing our country at the World Juniors. Next up is I'm okay with the players making mistakes, but not shaking hands is inexcusable. While just at 7%, it's fine, boys will be boys.
So we're going to dive into this conversation a little bit later on throughout the show. But again, if you have ideas or thoughts, sportscage.com, go vote, or you can text us as always. This is the Monday edition of the Sports Cage. We got to take a quick break here, but it is brought to you by Kelton Solar. 35 years of experience moving water from a dugout or well without electricity. Visit keltonsolar.com. Find out more for your livestock operation. Coming up next, Gary Brotzel from the Regina Red Sox will be swinging by for a chat. This is the Sports Cage on the home of local sports. 620 CKRM and streaming at sportscage.com. Well, it's Teagan Witko, your Monday host of the Sports Cage, joined alongside voice of your Saskatchewan Roughriders, Dave Thomas. And now we jump onto the Western Pizza guest hotline. It's the pizza that's known worldwide for a reason, loaded with toppings of Western Canadian ingredients and always cooked to perfection. And our guest that's joining us now, president of the Regina Red Sox, Gary Brotzel. First of all, happy holidays, Gary. How many Nanaimo bars did you crush this year?
Way too many. It's starting to catch up to me, that's for sure.
Well, I hope you had some time to enjoy the holidays with family. You go anywhere fun?
No, we just stayed around here. We hosted our crew, which is getting bigger and bigger, on the 24th, and that was it. Had a quiet Christmas Day, and Boxing Day, of course, watched hockey and football and pretty much nothing but sports.
The only thing we're missing right now, Gary, is baseball. And that's actually what we're here to talk about. Obviously, you're coming off a league-winning season with the Regina Red Sox. Some big changes happened throughout the year, so I kind of wanted to get your take on a bit of a year in review. Now, it was, Gary, a year that didn't start off great for the club, losing pitcher and Regina native Jesse Lubinecki in a tragic incident. Talk a little bit about how the team rallied around that fallen teammate, though, and even opposing teams were paying tribute to his memory.
Yeah, it was a tough start. There's no doubt about it. Looking back now, there was something there all season. Like, I don't know that we win that championship, unfortunately, if that doesn't happen, because I think there was some other powers to be. When you look at our playoff run there, we were literally down to our last strike twice and somehow won baseball games. I mean, that just doesn't happen every day. Like, that was just a crazy way to end it. And there was definitely, I think, some higher help there winning that championship.
I've long said, Gary, that baseball is perhaps one of the most emotional sports, right? Because you have to contain your emotions when you come up to the plate, right? You have to reset, refocus.
Yeah.
Obviously, we talk about the emotional start. How was your team able to channel that emotion going into the season?
It was, I have to give Rye Pathakis, our field manager, a lot of credit. He reminds me a lot of what Corey Mace says, keeping that even keel, not too high. Let's just go out and do our job. If someone gets hurt, next man up. Everybody on our roster has a kind of a role to play, and that was very much our focus and our mentality. Not only last year, but the season before. So that's just that you'll never see our dugout. Some team, I don't want to cut teams down in our league, but some dugouts get very emotional and the players are flying around and, jumping out of the dugout and chirping, and that's not us. Like, it's more of a professional dugout. The guys stay in. I mean, we get emotional, there's no doubt, but it's more of an even keel. Just, we get down, let's not panic. Let's just go up and send 8 guys to the plate and stuff like that, and it's been working for us. So, I like the way our team, acts on the field and definitely off the field.
So Rye is coming back for his 11th season. Director of Baseball Operations and Field Manager for the 2026 season. Obviously, you just outlaid, some of the major reasons why this was kind of a no-brainer, but maybe you could talk a little bit about his adaptability. This is a league where, unfortunately, you do lose a lot of guys. They get other callings, they get pulled back home. These are college players who have other responsibilities. So maybe talk about how he was able to replenish that roster throughout the season.
Yeah, I mean, that is definitely one of Rye's strengths. His ability to recruit is just off the charts in my mind. I think around July 5th, I'm going to say, we started losing some players for different reasons. We had some injuries, and a couple players got shut down by their schools, pitched too many innings in their mind. There's just a host of things, and we're not the only team that goes through that. So I think between the 5th, and our signing deadline's July 25th, by the way, and you have to play in a game by the 25th. Just so happens we're on a road trip in Alberta from the 20th to the 25th, so it makes it even harder to get people from the States up here and into our lineup in Alberta. So, really we had only, if I think about it, 19th of July was really kind of our deadline to get people in town, because we had a home game on the 20th. So between July 5th and the 20th, we lost 12 players, lost our whole starting rotation, lost our first baseman due to a wrist injury, replaced him with another first baseman that was very good, that was coming off a torn meniscus, re-injured his meniscus his first or second at bat, had to send him home. Lost Jackson Searing, arguably one of our best outfielders for personal reasons, one of the best in the league. and lost Jaden Kalera, catcher. So you lose your starting rotation. Oh, we lost our 2 back end guys from LSU that got shut down. So you lose your starting rotation, your 2 closers, 2 first basemen, and your starting Division I catcher, all in a 10-day period. We replenished them with, or replaced them with not 12 players, 8 is all we could bring in. And that's what we won the championship with. It's crazy. Like, I don't think any other team in our league could have pulled that off. I really don't. I think most teams, you lose that many players, you would have been lucky to win a game down the stretch. Never mind the championship. So, it was a tremendous effort, and I mean, I take no credit for that. That's all on Rye, making phone calls, reaching out to his contacts, seeing what players were not playing. Like, the players we brought in were not playing any summer league baseball. They were sitting at home, throwing bullpens. Some of them were working. So it took a while to get those players back up to speed when they got to Regina.
My sample size is small and skewed from watching practice at Curry Field, or not even practice, right? It's getting set, the warm-up before the game, but you could see the level of coaching that was evident when it came to Rye. But with the recruiting that you mentioned, Gary Brotzel, what is he saying to these athletes that attracts them to the Regina Red Sox?
One of the big things coming and playing for us is Rye has the ability to get those players to the next level. He has tons of connections, does player placement in the USPL, the United Shore. It's an independent league in the Detroit area. So if you happen to scour through the USPL rosters, you probably see, I'm just going to throw out a number, at least a dozen ex-Red Sox players playing in the USPL. It's a good stepping stone for a lot of players that are just finishing their college career to get into independent pro baseball. It's more younger guys in that 23, 24 range, so they have a good chance for success there. A few of our players left last year and went to the Frontier League, where you get guys that maybe kicked around in a major league program, maybe played single A, double A, got too old for their liking. When I say too old, 28, 29, and they're done, right? Some of those players who are still very good end up in a league like the Frontier League, which makes it hard for, say, a 22-year-old college senior going from playing in our league, making that jump to the Frontier League, playing what it would be, seasoned minor league baseball players. So that step to the USPL, I think, is a very good one for some of our guys.
And you talk about the recruiting that Rye is able to pull off. So how many of these players from the league-winning roster are going to be returning? How is that recruiting process looking like right now?
Great question. I've got our roster up on my other screen here. Right now,
a man who's prepared. I like it.
For the people that follow us closely, these names might not mean much to some people, but Jordan Tucker, Castellanos, our catcher's coming back, Justin Samar, Jalen Myers. We think Matthew Fox, our shortstop, local players, Red Hodgins, Brady By, Daniel Crabtree, that played with us a couple years ago, is coming back off a back injury. He was a good starter for us. We think Calvin Shefford might be coming from LSU. Vito Ikabuchi, Colton Bank. Yeah, we have a good number of returnees. Right now, I'm looking at a roster. We have signed. We're pushing 30 guys right now, and we'll probably sign another 10 just to make sure we have enough to start the season. So the roster's filled out great. We have a couple kids I think are going to really make a big impact this year. We got some big bats coming in. We're pretty excited.
151 days from today is opening day. And the last game hosted by the Regina Red Sox, that atmosphere was absolutely electric. I've never been at a baseball game in Saskatchewan with that type of atmosphere ever. And ever is a long time, especially when you look at me. So how do you go ahead and carry that momentum in the stands over year to year?
Yeah, those couple playoff games, like we cut ticket sales off. We were actually scared that the infrastructure at Curry wouldn't be able to handle the influx of people. So, counting the 300 that were sitting on the hill, I think we're pushing 2,000 for those games. So, yeah, I mean, we definitely want to build on that success. And, of course, we have a new ownership group now in place. And, I don't want to say too much, but I mean, there is some plans for some renovation work, I think, at Curry Field. Don't know how much can get done to start the season, but I think certainly by the end of next season, I think you could see Curry Field look quite a bit different. So that's exciting. I just, pick up where we left off and just keep it moving forward. I know the new organization is probably going to put their own spin on some of the game day stuff, which is great. Teagan, you're involved in that, not only with us, but the Pats. So I'm hoping there'll be a little bit, a new twist to some of the on-field stuff we do and just keep it a fun family event.
Well, we might need to be handing out free bug spray for those who are hanging out on that hill right outside of Curry Field, because, man, those bugs were bad. But great baseball. I guess overall, I'm curious to get your take, Gary, on the WCBL as a whole, because I feel like this is a league that is only growing and growing more with every single season. We're seeing it in Alberta for sure.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, Alberta is leading the way for sure in our league just because of their, they got the stadiums and we don't. With Edmonton coming on board, which that park's progressing a little slower than the league would like, but it looks like they're going to get a permit, an occupancy permit to start playing there in the spring. There might be some temporary bleachers involved. We're not really sure, but for sure they're going to be playing out of that new park in Spruce Grove. Now, when that comes online, that'll be probably the best park in our league. It's going to be fantastic. So I think our attendance league-wide last year was just a little over 500,000. So we get Spruce Grove on board next year, we'll be pushing 600,000 fans for a season. WCBL wasn't that long ago where those numbers were like 200, 250. So it just kind of shows you the growth. Go from 250 to over 600 in less than 5 years.
You can definitely feel the momentum of the league in Regina. Up in Saskatoon, of course, the Berries have come on strong. At one point, this league did have teams in Yorkton and Melville and Kindersley. Is Saskatchewan holding up? Are we going to be okay to keep teams in Moose Jaw and Swift Current and Weyburn? Because as more Alberta teams come on board, expenses start to rise as well.
Yeah, they do. And one thing we did discuss at our league meetings a couple weeks ago on Red Deer, not starting in 2026, our schedule is done, but in 2027 we are going to play a balanced schedule. So we will play in Okotoks, they will play here, we'll play in Sylvan, they'll play here. Right now it's kind of like the WHL where half the BC teams come and then we play the other half. Mm-hmm. So we are looking at what likely would be a 54-game balanced schedule. So every year you will see all the Alberta teams in Regina, which is great for the fans, except that will drive up expenses for sure. But, the small market teams are doing better every year, and, it's going to put a strain on them for sure. I think all the other teams can definitely handle those extra expenses.
So to bring this a little bit back to obviously the Regina Red Sox specifically. I know there was a ring presentation last month to thank the volunteers, the board members, the billets. Why was that so important for the club to hand out those replica rings after a league-winning season?
Yeah, I mean, we were happy we were able to do it. It was just a small token of our appreciation. I mean, for 20 years that I've been involved, for sure this team doesn't operate without our billets and our volunteer base. And I can tell you with the new ownership group, they were thrilled. Some of them were present that night. And they were blown away by not only the number of volunteers we had, but the passion of the volunteers we had. And talking to Gord Pritchard, who spoke that night, we met a couple times or chatted in between that, and it just blows him away. He said he felt like the big corporate bully speaking after I did all the thank yous and ring presentations. But no, they're thrilled to see that. We want to keep that alive. Sharon Clark's still going to be in charge of getting all those volunteers in place, and we plan on running our dinner and just kind of doing what we've been doing the last 20 years. I don't foresee any huge changes that way, but so it's kind of full speed ahead. And actually, you just flashed my title. I won't be the president going forward anymore. So my title is going to change in the new organization. I'll be the general manager and more aligned just to the baseball operation stuff.
Okay, so that's going to be an official title change in 2026, I assume?
It started already.
Okay.
That's good, yeah. So
Aside from
the general manager moving forward.
Okay, so Gary Brotzel, general manager of the Regina Red Sox. Yeah. Aside from the title change, what else excites you about 2026 under this new ownership in Queen City Sports and Entertainment?
Well, just more professional attitude that's being taken. I mean, we've done our best as a nonprofit, and you can only do so much, and you can only go so far without having people doing specific jobs all day, every day, instead of me doing this and that and off the side of my desk. And it's just more of a professional focus on every aspect of the team. That's what I'm excited about.
When you look back 20 years, you mentioned it a few times. That's why I feel confident that you're not going to jump through the screen and hit me for saying you've been around for 20 years doing this thing. But if you look back at the evolution of this franchise over 20 years, is there a specific thing that blows your mind? Like, for example, I remember my own dad was instrumental in starting soccer in southern Saskatchewan when he immigrated to our country. And one of the things he would do is he would take our push mower and mow the soccer field with that little push thing on Sunday mornings down in Weyburn growing up. It was like, really? How can you do that? 20 years is a long time. Where's the evolution been that you've seen changing in this organization and league?
Well, I've done all of that and then some. I've pushed the mower around the infield. I've done all those menial tasks that need to be done to play a ball game. Some of that will change a little bit going forward, but I mean, that's just the way our league is. That's the way community-based foundation organizations are. I'm sure if you talk to Scott McCauley or with the Thunder, he's done all of that and then some, and that's what you got to do to keep these teams alive in Saskatchewan. It's not glamorous work, but someone has to do it, and without volunteers and other people stepping up, we wouldn't have any of this.
How about the connection with minor ball too? I really find that fascinating with the league, how they're so willing to, whether it's affiliate players or bring local players into the lineup, promoting them, giving an opportunity to play this high level of baseball. How important is that, and how has that grown? And are you ready for what's coming with the recent success of the Toronto Blue Jays and the number of kids that are picking up a bat and glove?
Yeah, I've been listening to some of the different stories and some of the different groups like Baseball Canada reporting, numbers, registration numbers already early on show that there's going to be a big increase in baseball registrations across the country, which is fantastic. I wouldn't say our numbers have shrunk. I think they've been kind of holding their own pretty good. So seeing a bit of an increase is definitely going to help. One thing I don't know if people realize, Saskatchewan baseball has come so far in the last, I'm going to say 15 years, because when I was involved in minor baseball, we took a couple teams to Canadian championships at different levels, Pee Wee and Bantam. We were lucky to finish in the top. If we finished in the top 6, we were lucky, mostly because we were taking a club team playing against an Ontario, Quebec, BC team, which made all-star teams. So, it wasn't really fair, but now we're putting together provincial teams and winning those tournaments. Saskatchewan's done very well in the Canada Cup, different various levels of tournaments. So we have tons of great athletes here. There's tons of great academies. Kids are training all year, and it's totally different.
And I will just add to Dave's point here with obviously the explosion of the Toronto Blue Jays. This past summer, we also saw Jamie Campbell make an appearance at a Regina Red Sox game. I also see that he's going to be in Swift Current and Weyburn this upcoming February to promote the WCBL on so many other levels. What does that mean to the league and the Regina Red Sox to have that type of figure in the province supporting ball here?
Yeah, Jamie's just been unbelievable. And you may see him at our dinner, too.
Is that a tease?
Hopefully. Yeah, it's a work in progress. And he definitely said he'd like to be involved if he can get it in his schedule. So, tremendous supporter for the league. I mean, anybody that's watched Jay's broadcast has seen some of our league team hats on his desk. He talks about it. He talked quite a bit on the Jesse Lubinicki story. He's just a big supporter. I think he's watched games. I think he's been in every park now except maybe Fort Mac. So, he books off holidays to come and watch Western Canadian Baseball League. So, that's pretty neat.
Well, hopefully he actually catches a Rider game this time around, because he was in town when we had this smoked out game and he wasn't able to actually stick around for it. But he did get a Red Sox game in.
Yeah, that was the same weekend. So he was between Regina and Saskatoon. And, we had planned actually to even meet at the football game, but wasn't to be that night.
Yeah, preaching to the choir. We remember that one well.
I'm trying to forget that, if you don't mind.
Yeah,
you're filling a lot of time. 6 or 8 hours, eh?
We do what we can for Rider Nation. And, of course, Red Sox general manager Gary Brotzel does what he can for baseball here in Regina. So thank you so much for your time here. I know you got to run and go play some hockey, but appreciate the year in review and the time as always, Gary.
Yeah, thanks for having me on anytime, and have a good New Year.
You too. Happy New Year. And that, of course, Gary Brotzel joining us from the Regina Red Sox. We are going to take a quick break, so hang tight. We'll be back right on the other side. This is the SportsCage, the home of local sports. 620 CKRM and streaming at sportscage.com. All right, this is your sports ticker, Western Hockey League. We got Swift Current traveling to Prince Albert to take on the Raiders at 7 o'clock tonight. World Junior Hockey Championship round-robin play. You got Sweden and Germany that battled it out earlier today. Sweden won 8-1. Czechia and Finland right now. Czechia's up 1-0. All right, we also have USA, Slovakia tonight at 5 o'clock, and then puck drops for Team Canada taking on Denmark at 7:30 tonight, looking for their third straight win in round-robin play. Circle K Classic U18 AAA Tournament pool play. The Regina Pat Canadians, Moose Jaw Warriors, Warman Wildcats, they are all participating in this tournament in Calgary. Now on the slate today, Prairie Hockey Academy, they won. They beat the St. Louis Blues 2-1. Moose Jaw still on the ice taking on Illinois. They are up 5-2 right now. Regina versus the Fort Sask Rangers. Regina up 2-0 right now. And then Warman versus Sioux Falls Power, rather. That puck drops at 7 o'clock tonight. Saskatchewan U18 curling provincials. The U18 boys and girls curling provincials continue today and run through Wednesday in Esteban. One more draw coming up at 7 o'clock tonight. In the NHL, the Blue Jackets travel to Ottawa for a 6 o'clock puck drop. And of course, the Sens are without goaltender Allmark. He's on a leave of absence right now for personal reasons. Oilers heading to Winnipeg to take on the Jets. Flames entertain the Boston Bruins at 8. And then the Canucks are in Seattle to take on the Kraken. And then in the NFL Monday Nighter Week 17, the LA Rams are in Atlanta to take on the Falcons. That is a look at your sports ticker, brought to you by Reliance Group of Companies. Coming up next, 3 Down Nation and Rider broadcast analyst Justin Dunk will be joining us. This is the Sports Cage on the home of local sports on 620 CKRM and streaming at sportscage.com. And thanks for joining us for another edition of the Sports Cage. Of course, I am your Monday host, Teagan Witko, and I'm joined alongside voice of your Saskatchewan Roughriders, Dave Thomas, and of course, Colson Schultz running all the controls, keeping us on the air and on the stream at sportscage.com, our YouTube channel as well, and you can always hit us up on X. Still plenty on the go this afternoon. Of course, we're going to get to your clutch performer a little bit later on this hour. Darian Durant is going to be stopping by. A little chat with doubles. Lots to talk about in the NFL and, of course, CFL offseason stuff. So he's going to swing by. In Pat's chat, we have Pat's associate coach, Ryan Smith, who will join us in just a little bit. First, I want to get to the sprinkle of the day, Dave. Plenty to look at here. By the way, if you want to get in on all of the sports action, it's as easy as playing online. SportsSelect.com. You can make your picks online, generate that QR code, and then lock in your bet at your local lotto spot retailer. You can still fill out those little pages, but this might just be easier. Every bet 100% legal with the chance of winning cash in hand. Sports Select. When you're ready to play, bet on the original. Must be 18 plus and play responsibly. Colson is pulling up sportselect.com for us right now. Right off the top of the page, I mean, we see World Junior Hockey Championship. Canada, Denmark this evening. Canada the favorite. 7.5.
Well, yeah, it's like a football game, but Canada did kind of beat Denmark in their last pre-tournament game 13-2.
That's...
But...
So you're going to go Denmark? Is that what you're saying?
I'm not going to go straight up Denmark, no. But I'm just saying with what's been going on around Team Canada right now, maybe getting a 7-goal spread may not happen.
Yeah. Well, over under 9.5. Wow. Okay.
I know
this does not look like a hockey game spread.
No, it doesn't, right? It looks like Monday Night Football. Like,
do we even need to talk about that game?
I don't know.
Well, we're looking at it right now anyway. Of course, the Rams, the favorites here. So,
yeah, taking on Atlanta. Atlanta's a very interesting.
Interesting?
They're an interesting team to figure out.
Yeah,
because I don't know the direction that the franchise is going.
I don't know if they know the direction that the franchise is going right now.
Probably a very astute comment right there. That pretty much nails it on the head.
Yeah, I'm not sure what the return is on Canada here, but obviously they are clearly the favorites with double IHF World Junior Hockey Championships. And then, of course, with the Monday Nighter, I think that's a pretty easy bet there. But I'm not telling you how to live your life. So you do you. There's also, of course, a bunch of other games on the slate when it comes to hockey in the NHL tonight. Rangers, Hurricanes. I mean, Carolina, the favorite in that one. You got Washington in Florida taking on the Panthers. That one's a slimmer margin there at 0.5 point in the spread. Yeah. So I don't know. I think I already know my picks, Dave.
I was throwing out Edmonton, Winnipeg. That one intrigues me because the Oilers have been hot. Connor McDavid has more points in the month of December than Austin Matthews and the Leafs has all year. So, again, they're hot. I was really shocked that they lost in Calgary the other night. And Winnipeg's got to turn it around sooner or later, don't they?
Don't have a lot of confidence in that.
But they were President Trophy winners last year, and they've got their starting goaltender back.
But a lot can change very quickly. And if you don't have that mojo going, Dave.
True.
I don't know. I guess we're going to have to find out. Looks like we might be almost ready to rock and roll here with our next guest. All of our guests, by the way, join us on the Western Pizza Guest Hotline. And you can feel free to text in your own questions, 306-936-6262. Western Pizza Guest Hotline, it's the pizza that's known worldwide for a reason, loaded with toppings of Western Canadian ingredients and always cooked to perfection. Joining us now from 3 Down Nation and the Rider Broadcast Network, he's our analyst, Justin Dunk. Well, happy holidays, Justin.
Right back at you guys. Good to be on with you.
Looks to me like Justin got a new bunny hug for Christmas.
It's new in terms of the season, but it's like old. I just busted out in the winter.
I just thought that you were so Sasky now that bunny hug was right there.
He's caught on. He didn't even second guess you,
it.
Dave.
I know.
No, that's what I call it all the time now. People in Ontario look at me like, what are you talking about? Are you some kind of weird bunny and you want to give me a hug? Like, what's going on?
One of us.
It's
One of us. It didn't take long.
Bunny hug, isn't that the Super Bowl? Never mind.
I had no idea where you were going with that.
I know where he's going.
Okay. Yeah. Well, let's talk a little football, Justin. I know there's plenty of action happening in the NFL this time of year, but I want to start with, obviously, we're in Saskatchewan. Rider Nation, that's the territory that we live in right now. We got to start with the most valuable Canadian from the 112th Grey Cup, Sam Emilus, signing that deal. Now, I was reading your reporting on this, and you were saying that this contract may have just made him the highest paid national receiver in the CFL salary cap era. So can you break down the structure of this contract for us?
For sure. I really do think that that is a legitimate possibility. Now, I've talked to people around the league who have been around well before the CFL salary cap era, and they say to their best estimation that this deal would make Samuel Emilus the highest paid Canadian receiver since the salary cap was implemented. But what we can say for sure is that he's the highest paid Canadian receiver entering the 2026 CFL season, and I don't think he's going to be topped. He leapfrogged Tyson Philpott with the Montreal Alouettes, who signed an extension with the Montreal Alouettes earlier in the offseason at $275,000 in hard money for the 2026 CFL season. Samuel Emilus comes in at $285,000 in hard money for 2026. And I saw some reaction on social media, guys, on both sides of this. And to be quite honest with you, even though it's a big pay raise for Samuel Emilus, he definitely deserves it. And if he went to the open market, he could have snapped his fingers and easily got well over $300,000. So for the Riders fans who are going, well, that's a lot of money, it's like, no. Samuel Emilus took less to run it back with the Saskatchewan Roughriders. And that's been Jeremy O'Day's pitch to Trevor Harris, Jermarcus Hardrick, the guys that he's already re-signed, including Samuel Emilus, is that, okay, if you take a little bit less, you'll have the opportunity to win some postseason games in an ideal world for the Riders and add to your check at the end of the day, plus continue to build your legacy with the Riders.
And as fans, a lot of, well, I don't want to say everybody in Rider Nation, but a lot of people just see those big, hefty dollar signs. And we know that they can only spend so much money. So in your personal opinion, what do you think that does for the rest of the receiving core when it comes to the Riders?
I think it sets the bar in terms of, okay, Samuel Emilus is going to be the highest paid guy because of two things. He's elite. He had back-to-back 1,000-yard seasons in 2023 and 2024. We saw what he did in the Grey Cup and in the playoffs, guys. He's almost averaging 100 yards per game in his 4 postseason contests. So the other factor is, of course, that he's Canadian. When you look at the other pending free agent receivers that the Riders have, the next 2 names on the list that jump out to people are going to be the Americans, Keyshawn Johnson and Dante Myers, but they're not necessarily going to get into that type of money, in and around $300,000 because they have one real legitimate year of production going over 1,000 yards. No slight at them, but for Myers, there's a chance, and I say a chance because we're not sure, that he could sign an NFL contract. For Keyshawn Johnson, he's been there, done that. So I think that if he had his first choice, he would probably want to stay with the Riders, but there's some other teams around the CFL that could use receivers as well. Then we go down to kind of that next tier, and that next guy that, Wes Cates, I think, would agree with me, and he kindly wrote a piece for 3 Down Nation to talk about it, that Tommy Neild is going to be a great value because he's going to be a guy that's on what people around the league would call a bridge contract, right? He's flashed. He, of course, had that touchdown in the West Final to put the Riders into the Grey Cup, but he's probably not going to get over $200,000 unless his market goes crazy. I think there's a chance because he is Canadian, but I think those would be the next three guys in the pecking order. But the Riders are going to have to be patient, I think, here to see what happens with Dante Myers. If he signs an NFL contract, then perhaps that leads them to go to Keyshawn Johnson and say, okay, we got this amount of money for you. Can we work out a deal? If Myers doesn't sign an NFL contract, I think he becomes the priority from an American standpoint.
Justin, what does it say that this is the second consecutive 2-year contract that Samuel Emelis has signed with the Rough Riders? We're starting to see more guys do that, especially out in Montreal, for example. Danny Machocha loves the 2-year deal, but Sam Emelis signs a 2-year deal to stay in Riderville for another 2 years, just like he did the last time around.
You're right. And it shows that he loves it there and really didn't want to leave. And that's why he took, I'll call it a hometown discount, because it's the only CFL team that he's ever played for. So I think that's what it really shows you, plus the opportunity to go back to back. And then also, as you guys know well, Saskatchewan is hosting the Grey Cup in 2027. So you can look at it and say, okay, I'm getting paid really good money, just under $300,000. In that second year in 2027, it should be noted, it's $290,000 in hard money. So I'm getting really good money to stay within an offense that I know really well for at least one more year. We'll see what happens with Mark Mueller after 2026, and play with a quarterback in Trevor Harris, who has been dialed in with Samuel Emelis. So I think it's a combination of things, but at the very top, he did not want to leave Saskatchewan. He loves playing at Mosaic Stadium and the setting around there with all the passionate fans of the green and white.
I don't want to call it the fine print when it comes to CFL contracts, but like I say, a 2-year deal, it's great to put that on paper if you're the player, but there's still outs, right, for the franchise. So is there a way that you think that this may become a trend where players look to sign that 2-year contract, hoping that they can get that guaranteed money, whether it's a payout in the offseason or however that looks moving forward, despite the control that the franchise has and the ability, without ramification, essentially, to go ahead and drop a contract?
Definitely. That's something that the Canadian Football League Players Association coveted and bargained to get into contracts, those partially guaranteed contracts. I mean, teams can go out there and fully guarantee the contract if they want, but if you're Samuel Emelis, you're sitting there and saying, okay, I have $100,000 guaranteed in 2027. So I know I'm going to get my money in 2026, and the Riders probably aren't going to move off him in 2027, regardless of what happens, even if there's a serious injury, because he has that 6-figure guarantee. Now, if you talk to people around the CFL, they'll say that it's probably hardest to get out of Jeremy O'Day because it does put the team on the hook, right? That you have to pay that money. But for a guy like Samuel Emelis, you kind of just go, how much? Yes, mark it down, move on.
Darren knew that I was going to be talking to you today, and he reached out via text, and he wanted to know the answer. And so he goes, I looked down the list that you guys put up when it comes to the pending potential free agents for the Saskatchewan Roughriders. By my math, to sign everybody, they've got to start signing guys at a pace of 4 players per day. Is that something that should even be considered when it comes to the pace of player re-signings?
That'd be a wild pace. Yeah. Man. It's probably a better question for Jeremy O'Day and Kyle Carson and the guys in the front office, Larry Dean as well. But I think it shows you that there's going to have to be priorities made here. And then some of these players are going to get to the market. As much as Rider Nation doesn't want to hear it and they want to bring the entire team back, I don't think that that's necessarily realistic. So there has to be a priority order. And I think it's pretty simple to look at the pending free agent list for the Riders and say, okay, these are the next guys that the Riders could prioritize. Perhaps in the building, there's a different feeling there. But, I would imagine that next on the list, outside the receivers that we already talked about, you would look perhaps on the offensive line. And if not there, you'd go to the defensive side of the football. We know Corey Mace loves Malik Carney, moves him all around the defense. Habakkuk Baldonado's another guy like that. Dave, you and Luke talked about that a lot on the broadcast all season long. But I would argue that next most important on the list after Samuel Emelis is A.J. Allen, because he's Canadian. There are going to be teams that would love to see him get even to the negotiation window. But I don't think the Riders want that to happen. And I would imagine that A.J. Allen, being a Rider throughout his CFL career so far, would like to stay there, but the dollars and cents have to line up.
Okay, what about quarterbacks? Because I know a lot of people have been talking about Trey Ford in the offseason, what might happen with him. And obviously, Trevor Harris is coming back. We already know that. But then what? What does it look like behind Trevor Harris? What do you think?
That's where I think there has to be a decision made, right? You have Jack Cohn and Jake Maier, who are both pending free agents. Dave and Teagan, you both well know how high the Riders have been on Jack Cohn for a couple of years now. And Jake Maier, looked pretty good last year in Mark Mueller's offense. He's comfortable in it there. So there's a decision to be made there for the Rough Riders, and that decision could have a ripple effect throughout the league. You mentioned Trey Ford. I think if you look at the backup quarterback market, because that's what we're into now, all the 9 teams have their number one quarterbacks signed, sealed, and delivered for 2026. So you look at a guy like Trey Ford and think he's probably, arguably, going to be the best available backup on the market. So does Ed Hervey look to trade him, which I think is a distinct possibility, or does it just get to the point where Edmonton's like, no, we're not going to pay you this $100,000 plus bonus. We'll release you and you can go find your next team. I get the sense that there could be a deal that happens before his bonus is due, but there's a lot of people around the league talking about Trey Ford and still having that upside, right? He started a bunch of football games. I think he's actually the quarterback that's won the most amount of games in Edmonton over the last number of recent years when they've had this downturn, first Chris Jones and then Mark Killam coming in there and trying to get the team back on an upswing. So he's definitely an intriguing name to watch.
Ryan Dinwiddie, is he sold on Drew Brown?
That is the $400,000 plus question, Mr. Thomas. Indeed, it is. I get the sense from talking to people around the league that they believe the Red Blacks are going to go with Drew Brown as their starting quarterback. But I think it would behoove Ryan Dinwiddie, and he probably thinks the same way, to bring in somebody who has starting experience behind him to push Drew Brown. And then if I'm Ryan Dinwiddie too, I'm sitting there and going, okay, when I was in Toronto, I was able to develop all kinds of quarterbacks and get a lot out of them. You look at what Cam Dukes was able to do there for a number of starts while Chad Kelly was serving his suspension. You look at last year, a raw rookie in Tucker Horn, who seemed to have some intriguing traits, and he was just in his first year with the Argos. So Ryan Dinwiddie can, grind the film, look at the guys on the Red Blacks negotiation list, bring in probably a couple quarterbacks that he likes. But I think he would like to have a veteran backup behind Drew Brown who has CFL starting experience.
And trying to connect the quarterback dots then, when it comes to Ryan Dinwiddie, there was a question posed. Would they potentially, if Jake Maier got to the free agent market, be looking at Jake Maier? Now, I thought, maybe there is a connection there, but there is a 1-year differential. So Ryan Dinwiddie left the Stampeders in 2019. Maier arrived in 2020, but that may not mean that it isn't a fit.
I would agree. Ryan Dinwiddie, I think I said in the past that he at least studied the college tape of Jake Maier. So I think that it could potentially be a fit. And if you're Jake Maier, that's part of the decision you have to make as a player. Do you believe that's better for your career long term to go to Ottawa, where you might be in a similar position, let's say, to Cody Fajardo last year, where you're like, okay, I can see where Trey Ford might struggle, and then I get my opportunity. Does Jake Maier think that could happen with Drew Brown again in 2026, and then he gets on the field in Ottawa? Or is he better served to be in Mark Mueller's system for another year, be embedded there, and then be, for lack of a better term, the heir apparent to Trevor Harris? But Trevor Harris could continue playing well into his 40s, guys. So yeah. I think that's part of the difficult decision Maier has to make.
How do you think Jeremy O'Day has done so far in the offseason? I know we're only about a month deep into this, but how would you grade him?
I think really good. I mean, first of all, you get Trevor Harris back on a less than QB market contract, in and around $450,000 in hard money. Jamarcus Harjic has come back. He got a little bump up, but nothing major. That shows that he wants to stay with the Riders and try to run it back. And then the same for Samuel Emlis. There were people who thought that his salary number would definitely start with a 3. So the negotiations and the pitch that Jeremy O'Day is using behind the scenes, I think is working really well. And they went out and already brought back Tommy Stevens and Thomas the Train, Bertrand Hudon. Like, I like what the Riders are doing here, where they said, okay, we're going to get our big guys under contract so we can have an idea where we're going to sit from a salary cap perspective. The 2026 CFL salary cap is going to be around $6.06 million, and there's a chance it could go up based on the 2025 revenue. So I think overall, in terms of the big ticket items, it's been beneficial for the Riders.
I got to know the inside scoop on the Toronto Argonauts, because seemingly the only wily veteran from the CFL executive circle that they haven't brought in is Wally Buono, right? So there's a lot of different voices that are going to be trying to give their opinion. How is that going to play out, and how does that play out when it comes to Chad Kelly and Nick Arbuckle?
That's a great question, my man. And I think part of the reason that Wally Buono couldn't have gone there is because I was told that he was actually a consultant in the Tiger Cats general manager process. So Hamilton would be like, no, hands off our guy, okay? We're paying him to consult for us. You know how the rivalry goes there. Yeah. But in terms of the Argos, from what I've heard, there's not a general manager per se in title at the moment. I guess, it's Michael Pinball Clemens, but I think Jim Barker is going to be doing a lot of that work. So I think that's sort of the structure there is you have, Keith Pelley, the president, Michael Pinball Clemens, the GM, then Jim Barker. And I think Jim Barker and Michael Pinball Clemens are, pretty much on the same level in terms of decision-making power, let's say. And then I think John Hufnagel is going to have a strong say there in the front office in Toronto.
John Murphy, still in that chart though, isn't he?
I will point you towards the article on 3 Down Nation. He has been, let's say, not retained by the Argos. He's not there anymore. And it's unclear if it has to do with the investigation that the league did into some potential tampering allegations with Corey Mace there in Saskatchewan. But no, I think we can definitively say that John Murphy is no longer with the Toronto Argonauts.
And will we see Chad Kelly under center then? Do you if you had to go ahead and put a sprinkle down, right? Sports Select, will we see him play in 2026?
I need to see it, guys, to be honest. Like last year, and Ryan Dinwiddie's usually pretty truthful, so it makes me think that even though the Argos won't say it publicly, there had to be some setbacks because Ryan Dinwiddie, I think, said it was a 50-50 chance that he would play in week 1. And then, he was supposed to be back, like I think it was week 6 or something, and just kept getting kicked down the road. Now, I don't know if that had to do with Chad Kelly from a mental perspective coming back from the injury, but to try to answer your question, it's not going to be definite. I do think we see him. It seems like Mike Miller is confident that Chad Kelly is going to be on the football field for the Toronto Argonauts. But, your guess is as good as mine just based on last year in terms of when we actually see him. I'm sure the Argos would like for him to be out there in week 1, but I don't get the sense that that's necessarily a guarantee.
Surprised by the trade over the weekend, Niles Morgan off to Ottawa?
In a way, I thought Edmonton would deal a linebacker or probably be forced to cut one because of what Joel DeBlanco did in the middle. And then they have Nick Anderson there on the weak side. And then Brock Mogensen stepping up late in the season, who's on a rookie deal, which is a great situation for Edmonton. You got 2 young linebackers in the middle on rookie deals in DeBlanco and Mogensen. So I thought it made sense, especially when you look at Niles Morgan's contract. I think he was around $140,000 last year, which is on the higher end for linebackers in the Canadian Football League. And then you look at what Ottawa is trying to do and, get better really all over, but especially defensively. And I just wonder what it means for Jovan Santos Knox and his future with the team. He was a guy that Sean Burke, the former GM, now vice president of football operations, brought over from Hamilton. But Niles Morgan has usually played the middle. He could play the weak side. So we'll have to see how that shakes out in terms of, is Santos Knox re-signed? He's a pending free agent. And then where do they slot Morgan in? He's still a really good player despite coming off a season-ending injury.
So in Ottawa, who would have made that deal? Would that have been Dinwiddie?
Well, Ryan Dinwiddie had the statement in the press release. And Sean Burke has said that he has final say over the roster. But I do think that it would have been collaborative. And Sean Burke has that background of being a general manager. So to say to Ryan Dinwiddie, okay, like go pull off this deal, I'm just going to let you go do your thing, would perhaps be like a little bit silly in a way. So I get the sense that it's collective there and that Sean Burke is helping out a lot.
Which makes a lot of sense, right? Again, using that experience. And I haven't had a chance to ask you since Tommy Condell gets hired in Winnipeg. Are you surprised at that dynamic that the former OC is just going to stay on as the running backs coach and Jason Hogan?
Definitely, but full credit to Hogan for swallowing the demotion. Like, not even his pride. It's like, you're legit demoted, but you still are going to be with this team. And I think the way that Brady Oliveira talked about it too makes me think that it can actually work, and it might be to the benefit of Jason Hogan in the long term. He's a young Canadian coach. I think we need more of those getting opportunities in the Canadian Football League. And that's what Mike O'Shea saw in him to give him the offensive coordinator title in the first place. But Mike O'Shea had talked to other candidates, tried to entice them to come to Winnipeg for the 2025 CFL season. So no disrespect to Hogan. He wasn't necessarily the first choice, but I think as the process played out, Mike O'Shea thought he deserved a shot. And if you look at the actual numbers, guys, the Bombers scored more points in 2025 than they did in 2024. Now, I know that doesn't really matter to Zach Collaros and some of the other players who voiced frustration, and I'm not going to pretend to know the inner workings there, but I think Hogan deserves credit for being willing to accept a demotion, go back to his old position, and then learn from a veteran offensive coordinator in Tommy Condell.
And you're bang on. You hit the nail right on the head, right? The numbers don't necessarily support it, but they're generally, especially when the Riders were there late in the season, you could feel the crowd coming down on Mike O'Shea and Jason Hogan. Just, they were not happy.
Sorry, go ahead, Justin.
No, I was just going to say, indeed, it seemed like something had to give there. And Mike O'Shea did talk to multiple offensive coordinator candidates, but I mean, also you get the intriguing factor of Tommy Condell coming in, who's not necessarily known for running the football a lot, where he's got a guy like Brady Oliveira who has 4 straight 1,000-yard seasons, and he can get it done out of the backfield too in terms of catching the football. But I think if Condell's going to have real success there, and if the fan base is going to like him, because clearly that played a role in Hogan taking the demotion, that there's going to have to be a concerted effort to get Brady Oliveira his touches in the run game. Sorry, Teagan.
Oh, no, all good. I do have a couple of memory testing questions for you, though. Yeah, I'm going to put you on the spot a little bit here. First question, what was the top play in the CFL in 2025?
It had to be Robert Carter Jr.'s interception.
Yeah, I knew you were going to say that.
Unbelievable. I mean, I know there's some catches we can look at, and you would talk about Samuel Emelis with that head top catch against the Toronto Argonauts, but this interception from Carter that you can see on the YouTube stream right now was just unbelievable. And the uprights didn't block my view of it, so I still thought it was great, despite them being there. Like, look at him just fully laying out one hand, secures it, pulls it in, doesn't even need the other one. Like, this to me was an otherworldly play, and a play that you could show, honestly, anybody on the planet and say, okay, these athletes in the Canadian Football League are special.
Oh, yeah, that was going viral down in the States. NFL fans they were losing their minds after that game. Now, aside from that head-top catch that you mentioned, I also want to get specific about the Saskatchewan Roughriders. We're going to be talking about this a little bit more later in the show. But what was the biggest play of the season for the Riders in your mind? Whether it was impressive, it was tone-shifting, game-changing, or even just a character play that sort of defined this group as the 2025 Saskatchewan Roughriders?
Sheesh.
I know I told you I was going to put you on the spot.
Could talk about. That's cool. That's honestly, it's cool. And I like the question because it makes you think, right? I'm sure the fans have a bunch of opinions. I'm sure Dave has so many plays that come to his head. But the one that just keeps jumping out to me is A.J. Allen, second down, shedding Xander Horvath and stuffing Nathan Rourke on that ISO draw. Like, that to me, I don't think it went under the radar because I think we did a good job in the post-game show of highlighting it. I think he was probably the unsung hero in that game, if I remember right, Dave. But overall, that's the one that I just keep coming back to, right? There's so many moments that you can definitely point at. And I actually watched the replay, or I should say watched the TSN cut for the first time with audio of the Grey Cup. And there are plays in that game where I'm like, okay, that was a big play. This was a big play too. But I think for me, when you first ask it, the first thing that comes to mind, it's definitely that A.J. Allen play.
it's a good problem to have when there's so many that come to mind, at least if you're a Rider fan or a football fan in general, I suppose.
True. There's some obscure ones, too, that I really think showed. Kick? That was one, right? Absolutely quick kick, right? But what about week 4 against BC? Antoine Brooks Jr. comes in, gets his first opportunity to play, right? The Riders are banged up a little bit in the secondary. He comes in, and he's coming in not as a starter. He's coming in as one of the guys that are filling the garbage time. But he makes that remarkable catch right on the Riders' sidelines. And just seeing the team get behind him, knowing all that he had been through, right, to get just onto the roster, not just the practice roster, but the game roster, and then he makes that play. That showed you right there in week 4 what the team was all about and the way that they reacted to his play, again, all out laying out for an interception.
That's a really good one, and you consider just how impactful he ended up being. Yeah. I'm going to steal your sort of theme here, Dave, with the unsung hero. I think you could make an argument that Antoine Brooks Jr. was the top unsung hero for the Riders in 2025 because of where he came from and then how he was able to change the dynamic of the defense, start at Sam, and allow them to put arguably their best defensive player, CJ Ravis, at safety. I mean, you could talk about a lot of guys. The piece that you had on SportsCage.com laid out some of those unsung heroes. But, man, when you talk about that play, that's what I think about with Antoine Brooks Jr. Going from the practice roster, making that play, and then being able to be a starter at a high level in a week-in, week-out basis.
Yeah, and then he makes the pick 6 in Ottawa later in the season when him and DeMarcus Fields decide they're going to call their own play. We won't talk about that, though. That came straight from Coach Mace. Josh Bell was in on that, too. All I'm saying. There was no side communication, sidebar, you jump this or anything like that mentioned. It was all in the scheme.
Okay. You heard it right here from Dave Thomas.
Love it.
Oh, that's great. No, Justin, I think we are running a little bit short on time here, though, so we'll let you run. And hopefully you get some downtime to finish off 2025. Any big plans to ring in the new year?
No, I'm pretty chill now. I'm getting older, guys, so just enjoy some good food. Probably won't even be up at midnight. Have some good rest and start the new year with probably a hard workout, to be quite honest. I know that's boring, so I'll shut up and let you go.
And then then you hang out in your bunny hug.
I hear there's a big New Year's Eve shaker at the defensive coordinator for the Toronto Argonauts place. Do you know whose that is, by the way? No, I'm just kidding.
Greg Quick.
Yeah, there you go.
Justin Dunk, 3 Down Nation. Of course, you can always follow along there at 3downnation.com, and he's part of our Rider Broadcast Network. He's our analyst every season. So thank you so much to him for joining us on the Western Pizza Guest Hotline. This is the Monday edition of the Sports Cage. It's brought to you by Keln Solar, installing solar in residential and commercial buildings for 35 years. Local and trusted Keln Solar. Visit kelnsolar.com. Now, coming up next, we still have your clutch performers to get to for next service, because there are a few that we definitely want to highlight this afternoon. And then, of course, still to come, Darian Durant. We still have Pat's Chat coming up. And, of course, the sports ticker before we hit 5 o'clock here. This is the Sports Cage, the home of local sports on 620 CKRM and streaming at sportscage.com. Yes, it is your clutch performers. We have multiple, so let's get right to it. First of all, I just want to give one more shout out to my guy, Cody Ford. In a game that meant absolutely nothing, the Bengals offensive lineman lined up as an outside wide receiver. Joe Burrow connects to him, runs the ball 21 yards on his birthday. Yeah, look at this if you're watching the stream at sportscage.com or our YouTube. There he goes. It's not something you see every day.
No.
But that's pretty cool. Bengals went on to win that one 37-14 because now they remember how to play football. It's nice that happened after they were eliminated from playoff contention. Thank you very much. As long as Joe Burrow's having fun. I think he's having fun now. He was quoted saying that. So I got hope for next season.
Well, his foot's finally getting better, too, though. Give him some slack, Teagan. Come on. He was hurt. He wore $1 million prosthetic in his shoe. Like, come on.
I feel so bad. Okay, you give me a clutch performer.
Martin St. Louis. And this really pains me. I'm not a Montreal Canadiens fan.
Okay.
By the biggest leap. But you know what? When the Canadiens hired him, right, he was coaching, under 11 hockey or something, right? Like, everybody was like, what are they doing bringing this guy in? But if there seems to be a voice of reason, a semblance of calm, and a guy that can get the most out of his players in the National Hockey League, It's got to be Marty St. Louis. He's got his team in, third in the Atlantic Division right now, in a playoff spot. And again, they've had some injuries. They've got some interesting personalities. All of that said, Marty St. Louis, the guy behind the bench.
Louis.
So you gotta give credit where credit is due, and he's come in clutch, and it's going to be interesting to see what he does with this team. Again, they've won, got 8 points in 8 of their last 10 games. So,
and this is a team that rebuilt not that long ago, right?
No, exactly. And again, anything sometimes that can go wrong does go wrong for the Habs. Not that I'm not cheering for that, but I'm just saying, in this instance, Marty St. Louis, you got to give him credit for being the glue guy, keeping them all together.
Come on, Habs fans, go after Dave. Prairie Land Rentals text line 306-936-6262.
Thank you.
Okay, Colson, how about you?
I got a basketball one, which I know isn't super popular for all the sports.
Still valid.
But Scotty Barnes of the Toronto Raptors, 25 rebounds last night, which is a Raptors record, as well as I think there's only 8 or 9 other players in league history that have had 25 plus rebounds. So,
Scotty B.
yeah, got to give him his respect.
Okay, I do have technically 2 more.
You got 2 more.
I just like giving credit where credit is due, gentlemen. The next one actually comes off of a New York Islanders game. So it was 104-year-old World War II veteran Dominic Critelli. He performed the national anthem, and this is a gentleman who, 104, played it on the saxophone. The setup hypes on that guy.
The best part of that is the New York Islanders jersey that they gave him was number 104.
That's so cool.
That's pretty cool.
I mean, I get winded walking up the stairs sometimes, so I just have all the respect in the world. Again, World War II veteran Dominic Critelli. All right, those are your clutch performers, brought to you by Nick Service in Emerald Park. However, there is also one more photo that we're going to flash here on the stream at sportscage.com. Now, this comes off of the World Junior Hockey Championships. Team USA, a scary situation after a player was unfortunately stretchered off the ice after being hit by a puck. Cole Iserman, this is an iconic photo. Thankfully, he's okay. He was back with the team a little bit later, but this was a terrifying moment for not only Cole, but also his teammates. And Cole Hudson, he was basically consoling him, seeing if he was okay.
You've got the Coles backwards. Hudson was the one who got hit. Iserman was consulting.
Iserman was consulting. My bad. That's why they both have the same name. Anyway, so Cole is down on the ice, and then his teammate reaches out to grab his hand, and he was quoted after that talking to the media.
Yeah, it means a lot to me. That's kind of wasn't really a hockey player in that moment. It kind of, I could kind of breathe once he could squeeze my hand, and I just wanted him to know I was there for him, and no matter what, I was by his side.
So of course, that is USA forward Cole Iserman talking about his teammate Cole Hudson. Thank you for correcting me there, Colson. But yes, that was one of those moments, I think, where you just have to take a step back and you have to look at these sporting events, especially on such a big stage like the World Juniors, and realize, it is more about hockey. It's about being there for your teammates.
And see, I know we're going to talk about it, the World Juniors and Team Canada, and we've got text coming in on it, but that to me is the pure form of it, right?
Yes.
That's kids being kids, because these are 16, 17, 18, predominantly 17, 18, 19-year-olds. But
they are still kids.
They're kids, right? And that was what the allure of the tournament was, right? That hooks you in, is that these are kids, and they're given an opportunity and a platform to play and show what they can do, but they also show the human side. And I think that's pretty cool.
So that is another clutch performer for, just remembering why they're doing this.
Yep.
What it's all about at the end of the day. Sure, they want to win hockey games. Sure. They want to take it all. But again, it's about your teammates and it's about being a leader. So I think that was pretty cool. Again, those are your clutch performers for Nick's Service in Emerald Park. Still to come, we are going to take a look at that sports ticker. But first, let's take a quick break. It's the Sports Cage on the home of local sports on 620 CKRM and streaming at sportscage.com. Couple of Saskatchewan teams in action across the Western Hockey League tonight. The Swift Current Broncos are in Prince Albert to take on the Raiders. World Junior Hockey Championship round robin play continues with Sweden beating Germany today 8-1. Czechia, Finland Finland. Let me see here. Czechia still up 1-0. And we are 9.5 minutes left in the third. Just heads up. USA, Slovakia, they will be facing each other here right away. Puck drops about 10 minutes from now. And then Canada looking for their third win of the tournament, taking on Denmark at 7:30 tonight. The Circle K Classic, the U18 AAA tournament pool play continues. Let me see here. You got the Regina Canadians, Moose Jaw, Warman, Wildcats. They're all participating in this tournament in Calgary. Let me see. Saskatchewan U18 Hockey Challenge quarterfinals. You got Prince Albert Mintos taking on the Saskatoon Blazers, and then the Eastman Select at Grand Peace Athletic Club at 8 o'clock. And then curling provincials. The U18 boys and girls curling provincials continue today and run through Wednesday in Estevan. There is another draw coming up at 7 o'clock tonight in the NHL. You have the Blue Jackets traveling to Ottawa to take on the Senators, who will be without their goaltender, Allmark, who's on a leave of absence right now. Jeez. Edmonton Oilers traveling to Winnipeg to take on the Jets. Calgary Flames entertain the Boston Bruins at 8 o'clock. And then the Canucks are in Seattle to take on the Kraken. Let me see here. Also, not a Canadian team, but Colorado in LA to face the Kings. They have 2 regulation losses in 37 games.
It's insane.
I don't think enough people are talking about how well they are playing.
No, they are under the radar in Canada.
Yeah.
But in the NHL, everybody knows.
Yeah, well, that's true. You just don't hear people talking about it all that often around here.
Understood. Yep.
LA Rams are in Atlanta taking on the Falcons to wrap up Week 17 in the NFL as well. Our SportsCage.com poll. We got a little bit of time to talk about this one as well. So if you want to dive into this conversation with myself and Dave, the Prairieland Rentals text line is 306-936-6262. And yes, an interesting poll question indeed, Dave.
Canada has come under scrutiny at the World Juniors. Crossing center ice in warm-up, Captain Porter Martone penalized for taunting Czechia after an empty net goal and not shaking hands after that opening game against Czechia. How do you feel about Canada's actions? So far, leading the way with almost 59% of the vote now is that it shows a lack of discipline that is costing our country at the World Juniors. There's 3 other options you can get in on, and this is an interesting one. I know that, so Canada hasn't medaled at the last 2 World Juniors. There's obviously a spotlight, a microscope on this team because they changed up the structure, right? Alan Miller left the Regina Pats to become the full-time general manager of the junior team. That's his job, put a winning team on the ice. And then these antics happen in the opening game. And there's been a lot of people that are pointing fingers and saying discipline and this can't happen, and I hear that. And what would you do? So to me, right? So again, to me, I think you make a statement to the team after that game and you strip the captain from his seat.
I tend to agree because you have to lead by example. You can't be going out there and disrespecting the other team like that.
Canada last year was giving up an average of about 6 power plays per game. And that killed them in the tournament. That absolutely snowed them in. And I just can't understand how you would go out there and have that much lack of discipline when it's all controllable. You can see where the red line is in warm-up. After an empty net goal, why would you taunt the opposition? The game is over now. Celebrate and move on. And the whole handshake thing, that one blows my mind. I've had the opportunity to broadcast 2 different World Junior Championships. And the media, the coaching staff, everybody is given, here's the list of protocols, here's what's going to happen during the game. And at the very last 2 lines, we're going to sing the song, the national anthem of the winning team, and then we're going to shake hands. And how everybody on Team Canada didn't see that, I don't know.
But you and I were talking about this earlier. Those procedures, those one-pagers, one-sheeters, are in pretty much every level of hockey.
Absolutely.
It is a habit for teams to look at that stuff and understand what the protocol is. I see 0 excuses. Honestly, I didn't think that they shook hands after every single game because I usually move on to something else by the time a winner is decided, unless it's an elimination game. But you mentioned that it's every single game they shake hands.
Yeah. Well, from minor hockey up.
Yeah.
You start. So if I go to the Prairieland Rentals and Sales text line, so again, John, a Habs fan, so he may not be a Dave Thomas fan, but
not after that last comment.
Says that I think Canada showed a little disrespect. We're not shaking hands. That's classless. But when you have more hunters or coaches, what do you expect? I get that. Or from an anonymous texter from the 550, year after year, the Canadian junior hockey team has discipline problems that ultimately get them into trouble. It will happen again this year, and they'll pay for it. No discipline for the player who took the penalty in game one sends the wrong message, and that's Dean in Regina.
Yes, I think it also goes deeper than that. Like, I think there also needs to be some accountability on, yes, the coaches, as Dean alluded to, but yes, also the captain.
And
set that tone in game one.
Yeah, there's the problem. Okay, so again, I would have taken the COA. That there would be no captain for the World Junior Hockey Team after that this year. But I can understand also why they didn't do it, because this year, for the first time in a number of years, they allowed the players to pick who the leadership group was going to be. So the captains and his alternate captains, right? So if you strip that, you're telling the team the player that they voted to be their leader isn't good enough. And that can really blow things up. Now, I know that that's an excuse. That's a cop-out. You can call me on whatever you want. But I really think accountability has to be there, right? And you see it transform into the game as well, right? Because discipline is an individual thing, right? And so when you got guys that have an opportunity to score a goal and decide that they're going to put the stick between their legs and try for the TSN highlight of the night, as opposed to putting the puck in the back of the net or trying to do something individualistic as opposed to team, I see that creeping into the Canadian game. And not just to the junior level. And to me, I think that some way, somehow you make a statement very early on that, whoa, this is our team, not your team. And you can either be on our team or you cannot.
I will say they have a great goal song.
True. And didn't I say they were kids earlier? Come on, Dave. Come on, be better.
Laying into them. No, but accountability needs to be a discussion in this locker room for sure. But maybe you agree with us, maybe you disagree with us. You can text us on the Prairie Land Rentals text line 306-936-6262 or give us your input. Vote on the poll, sportscage.com. All right, we do need to take a quick break here and get to some news. And then on the other side, we're going to chat with Darian Durant. This is the Sports Cage on the home of local sports. 620 CKRM and streaming at sportscage.com. And thanks for joining us. It's another installment of the Sports Cage. I'm your Monday host, Teagan Witko. I'm joined by Dave Thomas, voice of your Saskatchewan Roughriders. Was that applause? Dang.
Me? Wow.
Colson.
Look at that.
He's on it today. I like this. Got a feisty little attitude over there. He's our producer of the show, by the way. He's keeping us on the stream at sportscage.com, our YouTube channel, as well as X or Twitter. We're just going to call it Twitter because no one calls it X, do they?
Nope. Nobody.
I don't think they do.
Elon, but that's it.
Yeah, he's been quiet lately, though.
He has been. You are correct.
I think that's a good thing. I'm going to go with that's a good thing. We are also just having a conversation about the World Junior poll at sportscage.com. So if you do want to join in the conversation there, Prairie Land Rentals text line, 306-936-6262. This does stem back to a discussion that we're having about being maybe a little disrespectful at the tournament. Team Canada.
First of all, Prairie Land Rentals, did you know they've got snowblowers?
Husqvarna
snowblowers. So
snow throwers.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, see?
Thank you. Welcome to 2025, Dave. Snow throwers. But anyways,
throwers.
just saying.
Yeah,
just saying.
You might want to check them out. Okay, go deal with the owner on Albert Street. They'll get you taken care of. But yeah, Canada obviously under scrutiny at the World Juniors. Taunting Czechia after an empty net goal, and this was their captain, mind you, not shaking hands after the game. So it's just not a good look, and we want to know what you think about it. Boys will be boys is one of the options. Shows a lack of discipline that is costing our country at the World Juniors. That's another option, and leading the way. And then the final one, I'm okay with players making mistakes, but not shaking hands is inexcusable, which I feel like is kind of that on the fence.
And I threw out the idea that maybe you strip Captain Porter Martone of his C. Now, first of all, this is not a personal attack or condemnation of a teenager, but your actions have to fit the role that you're playing. And there, so far, as I look over on that text line, is some support. Take the C away.
Yeah.
That is that's going to embarrass the player. It could blow up the dressing room, but it also could solidify the group as well and provide a layer of accountability that, I don't know, I don't want to say it doesn't exist, but when you lead the tournament in penalties a year ago, and you're starting to head down that path again, maybe there's that layer of accountability that all of a sudden, whoa.
But you also mentioned earlier it's a bit of a slippery slope because this is a team captain that was selected by his fellow teammates.
Yeah.
Now, I think we've learned a thing or two about maybe, ranking players on your team. Not a good idea. Bad look.
Yeah.
And it could cause some of that turmoil if you do rip the C off the chest. But maybe there's another person who could step up into that role. Because clearly this isn't it. And again, you mentioned it. These are kids. They got to learn lessons, but you don't want to learn them the wrong way on an international stage.
True. And you know what? The World Junior Hockey Championship, it puts this tournament up on a pedestal. There's the bright lights, right? It is somewhat of a media event, right? Like, it is good hockey. It is a good product on the ice, right? Don't get me wrong. Don't let me kid you. And again, the tournament has evolved and morphed, right? At one point in Minneapolis, when Canada won gold, they didn't even have the Canadian national anthem on tape, and the boys had to sing it. But it has gone ahead and grown and morphed into more of the business of hockey, right? Because, okay, I'm on whatever team, and I'm a first-round draft pick. Well, there's a very good likelihood the general manager of my NHL team is going to be sitting up in the stands watching me and could be making a multi-million-dollar decision on what he sees from me on the ice, right? So there's a lot of that undertone. And like I say, sometimes I think it leads to a little bit of individualism. And the whole, I think it's the accountability that has to be addressed in this instance. And again, then they came out against Latvia the next day and kind of had, I don't want to say their tail between their legs, but they really looked very, very confident. And Canada, on paper, should have won that game by much more than they did, and going to
tight.
Overtime was scary.
Yeah, that was too tight for comfort.
And this isn't taking anything away from Latvia. Like, Latvia is a good hockey team. Like, the teams in the tournament now deserve to be there predominantly. Denmark will have a little bit of a question mark tonight, unfortunately. But
7:30 puck drop, by the way.
But I don't know. To me, it's just not what it kind of used to be with the World Juniors, where, like, for example, take a guy like Jordan Tutu. Remember when he lit up the tournament in Halifax? Came out, played his heart out. Again, he laid punishing hits. Yes, a lot of them were charges that would be called that way today. But again,
different time. He
was an amazing player for the Brandon Wheat Kings. And he parked that and said, okay, I'll take on the role of checker, and that's what I'm going to do. And it just, I know it's a different time and place, and again, call me old if you want, but to me, there doesn't seem to be those defined roles anymore because everybody is so uber talented for where they're at. And you were talking about it earlier, right? We were talking, coming up later this week, the Olympic team is going to be announced.
Wednesday.
So
imagine if this happened on the Olympic level.
Well, Sidney Crosby is not going to do that.
He's not letting that happen.
Sidney Crosby is not.
No.
However, if it get shocked from the U.S., that could potentially happen, whether it was Brady or Matthew. But all I'm saying is that I'm very curious how this national junior team construction is going to filter into that construction for the Olympic Games. Because for the most part, what I've seen in past is that the NHL players park it, right?
Yeah.
I may be the top power play guy on my team. I understand that's not the role that I'm going to play. I'm going to have to come in and forecheck and force puck pressure and make turnovers happen. That's what my role is going to be. And I'm curious. Like I said, the roster construction is done by NHL people, not Hockey Canada people.
Right.
And again, I'm not scrutinizing. I'm not calling anybody out. I'm just saying that it's a different dynamic. And I'm going to be very curious to see how Canada chooses to fill those roles.
And Team Canada in the World Juniors, I should mention, the captain, Porter Martin, did come out and take accountability. Like, he did say this was all on me. So to his credit, he did face the media, face the music, and say, listen, that wasn't cool. I shouldn't have done that. So at least a teachable moment, maybe? No,
you're right. Right? Like, again, I think, because he had to meet with the IIHF as well, right? Mm-hmm. Because not for the antics after the empty net goal. He had to meet with the IIHF to talk about going over the red line when he hit the player from Czechia during warm-up, right? And that's what the meeting was all about. And like I say, that's a tough one because, again, he's played in the NHL this season. So you hope that the leadership you're going to get is going to be the guy that the others will follow. And if I'm going to the dressing room like, oh, guy, don't do what your captain's doing.
Yeah. Well, and again, I'm hoping that this is just like a very eye-opening moment and that doesn't happen again. But I tend to agree. I think that, it should have been nipped in the butt.
Yep.
Like it should have been handled sooner than that. Also, speaking of the World Junior Hockey Championship, just getting a score update here to make sure I'm not wrong because we have it on the TV in here.
So
that's what I was trying to point out. As we're talking about discipline, Czechia's guy goes between the legs to win it in overtime on Finland.
Yeah, absolutely. And if I'm a coach, I'm being driven nuts. But that's a huge win for Canada because Czechia and Finland are both in their pool, right? And so the Canadians, having won one of their games in overtime, so they've got 2 wins, they've got 3 points. And now Finland has got 4 points, right?
Yeah, so Czechia final in overtime 2-1.
Yeah. And that's a big win for Czechia. And again, they're such an emerging nation that it's hard to say, right? And
look, they're actually going to line up and shake hands.
Well, after they do the anthem, because it was on the sheet. They followed the sheet, right? That's what it's all about.
There are processes in place for that reason. Now, okay, so World Junior crowds, World Junior Hockey Championship crowds has also been, like, I'm looking at the TV here in the SportsCage studio right now, and it's light.
Sparse.
It's sparse. And this has been much discussed on the internet. And I don't necessarily know if there's one reason for it. The political climate has obviously come up with some people, maybe Canadian hockey fans don't want to necessarily travel to the States. I don't know how true that necessarily is. So I actually did some digging and pulled up ticket prices.
Okay.
They're not as expensive as you would think. You can get Upper Bowl for a single ticket, $22 US.
So with the exchange, no, I'm not going to do that to you. But again, that's affordable, right? $22
that is affordable. It's not lower bowl. I mean, that is going to get a little bit pricier, but you're also in pretty beautiful rink watching, the best of the best in that age category.
Well, the one pool, right? So the American pool is playing in the Minnesota Wild's home arena.
Yeah.
And then the Canadian pool, where Finland and Czechia have just played, where it looks like the camera shots are coming from the rafters at Saddledome. You are so high up with those cameras, but that's just the nature of that building at the University of Minnesota.
It gives it character and charm.
No, you can see that it's, you can see the venue that it's in. Like, it's a vintage venue. And you know what? I
come from the Crush Can days in Moose Jaw, okay? So I see vintage and charm.
I may not be able to go far tonight with this text message that I've just received from one of my neighbors. And that it's a long text message. But
Condense it, ChatGPT it.
The gist of it has to do with disrespect. Canada hasn't been shown any respect at the tournament, so they don't have to give any respect back. And what he's alluding to is the fact that if you're unfamiliar, so again, this is an older facility that the Canadians are playing their pool play in, right? Now, I don't think how you perform matters in whatever venue you're in, right? Having said that, though, there's some that are very upset that thinks the Canadians are shown disrespect because they actually get changed in a different arena. And then they've got a 90-second, 2-minute walk.
They have to skate across the ice and then go down the tunnel.
Yeah. And so belief is that the Canadians are disrespected because they don't get to change in the facilities. But the facility is the facility. The last time the World Juniors were held in Saskatchewan, some teams were changing in those Atco trailers. You know, the portable ones for construction sites? Mm-hmm. They pulled them in under the stands and, hey, here's your dressing room. Congratulations. Welcome to the World Junior Hockey Championship. And to me, you play where you play. It's not disrespectful. It's just that's the venue's limitations that they have.
And you work with what you got.
Like, exactly.
I mean, we've heard the stories from, even the Olympic level where, you have athletes sleeping on eco-friendly cardboard boxes. It's not necessarily ideal, but if you love the game and if you're a competitor, should it really matter that much? Like if you have to do that little skate across the ice, one rink over, I believe someone timed it. I can't remember if it was TSN or Sportsnet or who it was. It was 1 minute and 22 seconds.
Yeah, it's and again, there are some arenas in the Western Hockey League where you have to walk around. Like, for example, in Edmonton, before they moved to Rexall Place, the Edmonton Oil Kings and the Western Hockey League dressing room were on the far side of the ice. Well, the problem is that the entrances to the ice from the bench were on the near side, so you had to walk all the way around the rink on the back side to get into the back bench. So again, it's been done before. And again, for the risk of snow being thrown on my driveway for when I get home, like, I don't think disrespect and an eye for an eye ever plays into this thing. I think it was a poor decision that was made by the Canadians that needs to be nipped in the bud.
I could not agree more. But again, I'm going to throw this back. I kind of like those old, dare I say, crappy arenas.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, you think about the iconic rink in, Lang, Saskatchewan with the drawbridge that comes down. Again, I always, because I'm from Moose Jaw, I always think back to the Crush Can days where if you were in that top row in the stands watching a game, you could almost, if you were tall enough, reach up. If you were like Colson's height or your height, about 6 feet, you could touch the roof of the building because it was concaved in. You could reach right over the glass and high-five the players. Different times. I don't think you want that necessarily as much nowadays.
Since doing this job, all I hear about is the Art Hauser and the Whitney Forum. It's all I hear about is how they're two amazing arenas. And I'm like, that's Flin Flon and PA. Those are drives. But I'm really curious and I would like to go now.
Whitney Forum is a gem. I'll tell you that right now. It is a gem.
Can we do a SportsCage field trip?
Not to Flin Flon. Nope.
We barely made it to Yorkton for the SJ last year.
Nope. But Art Hauser is a very fun rink. It reminds me, if it had a concave rink, it would have the same atmosphere as Moose Jaw.
Okay.
Back in the crushed can. Moose Jaw's, when I was broadcasting in Moose Jaw, my favorite part was that you could see daylight in some of the end wall spots. You're like, did somebody like fire a puck through the concrete? Like, what in the world is going on here?
It did get a little chilly in the evenings in the dead of winter. I'll admit that. But again, it had that charm. It had that character. And it didn't make the hockey any less entertaining.
No, again, like I said, the whole venue excuse, disrespect, like, again, I respectfully disrespect your opinion because, well, I'm not disrespecting it. I'm just disagreeing with it. Like, it just doesn't add up.
Agreeing to disagree. Okay.
Like I said, like, again, those are controllable actions. And if anybody from my hockey team is listening, they'll know how much I get upset about the whole idea of there are controllable actions. You might trip somebody. You might hook somebody in the course of a game. But if you go and you punch them in the face or you skate across the red line in the warm-up or you pat somebody to taunt them after you scored an empty net goal, these are all decisions that you have made that are not involving hockey at all.
And it is in the heat of the moment, but isn't the World Junior Hockey Championship kind of like one of those opportunities to learn from the best of the best? I mean, if you're hoping to make it in the NHL as one of these players, you got to be able to maintain your composure. You need to be able to keep your emotions set aside because you're going to be with the big boys one day. Like if you happen to sign that contract in one of the, upper echelon leagues, you're going to be faced with these issues and you need to know how to combat those feelings of like, I need to make sure that I'm doing the best for my team.
Yep. I completely agree.
Especially when it comes to winning. So we want your thoughts, your opinions on this situation. SportsCage.com is where you're going to find that poll right now. You can also text us anytime on the Prairie Land Rentals text line, 306-936-6262. What do you think? Is it disrespectful? Will boys be boys? Or maybe the inexcusable part is not shaking hands. What do you think about Team Canada? What?
Bah humbug was just texted to me. What? Wow.
You know what? Christmas is over. It's fine. You're allowed to be a little Scroogey. Is that a term?
It is now.
Okay, well, we just coined a new phrase. Also, it looks like we have an update in this USA-Slovakia game. Slovakia up 1-0 right now, almost midway through the first period of play. Colson is on it today. Wow. I like it. He's also making sure we stay on time. So I'm going to take a quick break here, and we are going to be back in just a little bit because we still have Pat's Chat to go. This is the Sports Cage on the home of local sports on 620 CKRM and streaming at sportscage.com. Yes, let's take a look at the sports ticker. In the WHL, Swift Current Broncos traveling to Prince Albert to take on the Raiders in the Arthauser Center. We were just talking about that place. World Junior Hockey Championship round robin play. Sweden beat Germany earlier today, 8-1. Czechia, Finland, that one went to overtime. Czechia won 2-1. And then, of course, right now you have U.S. taking on Slovakia. And that one, the Slovakia up 1-0. Of course, still one more game on the slate tonight. And it's, 2-0. Oh, now it's 2-0 Slovakia. Good catch, Colson.
We got to get that sound. Woo, woo, woo.
Can we clip that? Can we clip it, please?
Yeah.
Okay, one more game on the slate tonight. World Junior Hockey Championships, Canada taking on Denmark. Canada, of course, looking for their third straight win. And you know they're going to be shaking hands tonight. Circle K Classic, U18 AAA Tournament pool play. You got the Pat Canadians, you got Moose Jaw there, Warman Wildcats. They are all participating in this tournament in Calgary. Still a couple of games on the slate, or at least one game on the slate here tonight. Of course, quarterfinals, you got the Prince Albert Mintos at Saskatoon Blazers, and then Eastman selects at Grand Peace Athletic Club, 8 o'clock tonight. And then Saskatchewan U18 Curling Provincials for U18 boys and girls. That continues today, runs through Wednesday. And then NHL action, you got the Blue Jackets in Ottawa taking on the Sens. Of course, Allmark not going to be playing in that game as he's taking a leave of absence for personal reasons. Oilers traveling to Winnipeg to take on the Jets. Flames entertaining the Boston Bruins at 8, and then the Canucks are in Seattle to take on the Kraken. NFL action tonight as well. Some football. We got the LA Rams in Atlanta taking on the Falcons. That is your sports ticker for Steelcraft Doors. Oh, all right. We're going to stay right here.
Okay.
Hi.
We're here.
Yes, we do still have Pat's chat on the horizon here in just a little bit. So we're going to dive into that here shortly. But, you know, we were kind of just talking about the fact that we are getting to that fun time of year, right? I mean, you got NFL playoffs coming up. You got the WHL trade deadline in just a little bit here, early January. So I'm sure we're going to be asking our next guest a little bit about that. But, yeah, it's a fun time to be a sports fan, if I'm being honest.
You know, I think so. January 10th is the trade deadline,
10th,
right?
yes, thank you.
So for the Western Hockey League, Saskatchewan Junior Hockey League, like essentially Hockey Canada, has got January 10th as their deadline, right, for roster moves. And this one could be very intriguing because it's very close to the end of the first semester in the NCAA. And if there are any players that aren't doing well or maybe contemplating their decision to have gone to the NCAA, it could be very interesting to see if anybody comes back.
That has been a big topic of discussion this hockey season thus far.
Yeah.
And you know what? Now I am getting the thumbs up from our boy Colson. Our next guest is ready for Pat's Chat.
Time now for SportsCage Pat Chat, powered by Southie Mainline Motors. The name you trust. Mainline Motors is now only 30 minutes from Regina. Amazing deals and award-winning service is now at your doorstep. SouthieMainline.ca.
Joining us right now on the Western Pizza Guest Hotline, we have Pat's associate coach Ryan Smith joining us. First of all, happy holidays, Ryan. Thanks for taking the time to chat.
Yeah, no problem. Happy holidays to you guys as well.
So you're fresh off that Christmas break. Maybe not not off to the best start for you guys, but you got to shake off the turkey, shake off the rust a little bit. So you start off with a home and home against the Saskatoon Blades. What do you think the team has learned from those first two games back?
Yeah, I think it's always difficult those first couple games, not just for us, for the league. It's you jam a bunch of games in right after, giving guys a week off. It's not the easiest. It's probably not the best hockey to see, but it's important time of year. There's lots of fans able to make the game, so we're excited to play those games against Saskatoon. They didn't go our way. Our goalie was outstanding in Saskatoon and, gave us an opportunity to get a point and maybe get a point in overtime. It didn't go our way. And then yesterday afternoon, we got off to a poor start. We had a good second and we just fell behind. And they're a good team. They locked it down. They played last night yesterday afternoon felt a lot like a playoff game.
Yeah, the energy in that building was absolutely incredible. And I think it definitely helps. It's an afternoon game. You have a lot of family in town for this one. But let's back it up one more game. When you guys were in Saskatoon, you made reference to it. Marek Schleckner, wow. What a performance by him. How do you think he maintained his sharpness over the break like that?
Well, whatever he did right. I mean, he he let in the first goal of the game was teddy bear toss. There's lots going on. I mean, it was terrible weather, and we hadn't done a lot on the ice in the last 8 days, and it looked like he hadn't missed a beat. He like I said, and I think anybody that was at the game and even our guys and our staff understand how we got that point, and it was all Merrick. He was incredible, and 49 shots to 14 or 15, whatever. 49 shots. I can stop talking there. I mean, it was a great night for Merrick, and he should be proud of himself. And we rely on our goalies. They pick the position. It's the hardest position in the sport because your mistakes end up being goals, and he had very few on that night.
Can you take me through how the team prepares for such a short turnaround? Because obviously there's the time with family and friends, and with a younger team, right? This is a first for some of them, and it's an opportunity that some of them haven't been away from home for the extended period of time that they are. How do you get them ready to go and attempt to be ready to go in such a short time span when they get back into the city?
Yeah, it's really hard because you don't want to take away any time you can have with your family and friends is so important, as we all know that. And so, we brought everybody back on Boxing Day, and playing the 27th, 28th, it doesn't give you a lot of time. We had, a practice in the evening on the 26th, and we had guys flying in the mid-afternoon, early evening, like right from the airport to practice. So in that practice, you just try and get your skates underneath you again, give the goalie some shots, do a little bit of system work. But you've got to understand, a lot of guys haven't been on skates for 8 days, and some have been, just relaxing like they should be. And so you can't go overboard, especially with two games back to back in less than 24 hours. And we had a little skate on Saturday morning with the team to again give just a little extra prep. But it's a really hard turnaround, and it's not unique to Regina. It's across the league, and teams are playing, 5-6 games in this week and a half of, between Boxing Day and New Year's.
Ken Schneider mentioned it to Drew Posty on the postgame show yesterday here on 620 CKRM about the sense of urgency. And Drew asked, is there a heightened sense of urgency now with the games starting to run out, right? You've reached the halfway point of the season. And he said, and Ken said, no, like, we've been feeling this sense of urgency since October 1st. Is that an accurate statement? And that's a lot of pressure to be under a lot of the time if you've got that sense of urgency.
Yeah, I think we all are aware of where we are in the standings, and in my experience, and I've been in the league for over a decade now, the games, the league gets much, much harder in the second half, probably after this deadline that I heard you talking about before. And the games ramp up. You've got teams like us wanting to get into the playoffs, fighting for points to get, to that playoff spot. You got teams that are looking for home ice advantage. You got teams that are jockeying for, division titles and that. So every game seems, from my experience, the last half of the season is just ramped right up. And, with a young team like this, we need to be ready. And you mentioned guys hadn't experienced something. And I think you're going to see, the next couple weeks, our guys getting a real dose of, playoff hockey style going forward here in January, February.
It certainly helps when you have a rival coming into the city. Again, earlier game. It's going to be on New Year's Eve this Wednesday night. So how do you try to keep the guys focused heading into that one?
Yeah, and we talked about that today at practice, just, moving on from the 2 games in Saskatoon. That's in the past. We can learn a little bit from those, but, we've got a quick turnaround with a game, like you said, Wednesday afternoon against Moose Jaw, a team that's right around us in the standings. As you mentioned, our rival, there's no love lost between the teams, the cities. So the games mean a lot when you play them. And, it's a home game for us. We want to take advantage of that. And, it'd be great to end 2025 with a win.
I'm hoping I'm going to ask this question using the right adjectives, but when you look at the roster reconstruction of the Regina Pats and the change in culture that has been really started a couple of seasons ago with Alan Miller and now, of course, carrying over, and you're at this point now, if you want to call it the full rebuild or wherever you're at. Having said that, how important is it for an organization and for coaches to be patient and understand, hey, we've got some growing pains. We just have to be patient, and we can't push panic buttons on kids and make predetermined judgments before we hit the ice, for example?
Yeah, no, it's a good question and worded correctly. It's you have to have some patience, and you have to grow a little bit from your mistakes and learn to live with those. I mean, you can't get experience if you don't play, and sometimes that costs you when you have a young team. And over the last couple of years, I would say that's it's not an excuse. I'm not trying to make excuse. It's a fact. If you're young and inexperienced, you haven't had a chance to play in some of these big moments and big games, and these guys are gaining that experience. And you're starting to see some of the guys that are in their second and third years, reap the benefits of that, and the guys in their first year are learning that. And you're right. You can't jump the gun after 10, 15 games with young players or any players, new players, old players. Sometimes it takes time, and, we're at the halfway mark right now. And as patient as we want to be, we do have to have, like Ken had mentioned on the post game, some urgency. So it's a balance. But I'll say this, junior hockey's cyclical, and anybody that follows it, any fans that are around it, been around the Pats, they know, it goes in cycles, and you build and you get your team going, you get older players, you make some moves to build on that team that's somewhat going for it. And then it goes right back down to the bottom of the cycle, and you build it up through draft picks and that. And, I would say we're rounding the corner here.
When you look at the season thus far, what point of pride do you have when it comes to the way that this team is evolving and growing? For example, I go back to the early stages of the season watching some of the special teams. Now, the power play, I believe, is up over 27%, which to me shows that there's a lot of understanding and now some execution with special teams play, which I think is a huge positive sign. What do you see from your vantage point?
Yeah, I think that you start the season and you have, this grand plan, and you hope everything goes great, and that falls apart pretty quick for whatever team, most teams, unless you're the Colorado Avalanche. I mean, it's, but you adjust as you go forward. And I think we've adjusted well with, some of the new players that have come in over the off season and even in season. We've adjusted well with some injuries, like, again, not unique to us, but like any team. For me personally, and for our staff, I think we're a pretty resilient team. Like, there's been a lot of games where we maybe aren't, the best team in the first period or the second period, but we've hung around. We've done enough to keep it close, and we've managed to pull points, similar to the game on Saturday. And again, mostly Merrick in that one, but the team did play in front of them and did some things in front of them. And we've had some games where, we've come back in third periods and had really good third periods. And that's shows a sign of a team that doesn't give up and on themselves. And, I think that's the pride we have. And of course, we'd like to get better starts where we don't have to pull it out of the fire at the end. But those are things that, for us are important, that we never give up and we keep playing till the last buzzer. And, I think, special teams have been good, both sides, penalty kill, power play, and they are key. They are important, and they are a factor in the game. And, the guys are picking up what we're putting down.
When you look at your group, there's character in there. You have to have character if you're going to be resilient. How do you identify the character, and how do you help a player build that and show and be able to grow within the character to elevate their game? Well,
I think that's a real easy question to answer. You need to value the small things that, the block shot, and the goals are important, and celebrate the goals and enjoy those, and big saves and big hits and those things. But there's little things in the game that add up to the wins, and chipping the puck out of the blue line after a long shift, winning a face-off, goalie getting a whistle, And, that's how you build character. Those are the things. All these guys have scored goals. They're the elite players. They're the best of the best in Western Canada. So, but getting them to, block a shot in a penalty kill when there's 2 minutes left in a game, to, chip a puck in instead of maybe trying to get the next goal when you've already got a goal lead. Cheering each other on and valuing that on the bench and in the dressing room. And that, I think that's how you build character. That's, when you value the right things, the players will do the right things.
Well, and it has been a conversation, particularly at the World Juniors. And I think it's often easy for fans to maybe forget that these are kids. These are still teenagers building character on the ice. And as part of that, I have to imagine there might be some nerves that are maybe in the locker room heading into that trade deadline early in the new year. Is that something that you've been hearing, or how do you combat that?
I think that's fair. I think every team in every league before the deadline, there's nerves and what's going to happen and what's my situation. And, with our team, we've got some young guys that haven't been part of this. In minor hockey, you don't have a trade deadline. It's you make the team and you're on the team. And so, I haven't really heard any of the whispers, or I'm sure, though, there's a sense amongst the group that, is something going to happen? Could something happen? Could something happen with me? So, I mean, we've got some guys that this will be all new to them as well. We got 2 kids that can't even drive to the rink on our team. So.
Yeah, true.
So to trade dead, and I love those 2 kids. I'm not trying to make fun, but that's how young, there are some players in this league that are real young. To your point, Teagan, that they are just kids.
Building on that point, as a coach, when you're coaching a junior hockey team, do you have to try to diffuse pressure? Obviously, there was a goal that was set. Hey, we were going to try to get into the playoffs this year. And obviously, the kids feel the pressure. They know the standings. They follow this league probably closer than anybody. As a coach, do you have to try to go ahead and allow the outside noise to dissipate some way, somehow, so it doesn't creep in?
Yeah, you try your best, and it's a world that we're living in now with social media, and outside noise is going to happen. These guys, their cell phones, their social media accounts, they're gonna feel it from all different angles, and you do your best while you have them within your time at the rink and on the bus and in the hotels and all that. Like I said, though, I think when you're talking about the Western Hockey League, and I go to bat for it all the time, it's the best junior league in the world. And these are some of the best kids that you're going to find, not just players, but humans. And I think they do a pretty good job. And, when we sense that there's some tension or some stress in that, we talk about it. And we one thing is, and it's hard for kids, it's really hard, is it is literally one game at a time. You can't get too far ahead of yourself. You can't look at what you've done in the past. You just have to move forward. And we're looking at Wednesday as our next challenge and our next game. And that's our next stress, is Wednesday. And if you're stressed about not scoring on the weekend that just happened, you got to get that out of your mind, because you do have the next chance on Wednesday to score your goals and most importantly, win the game. And
finally, what might be our most hard-hitting question for you, Ryan Smith, associate coach for the Regina Pats. What's the best rink in Saskatchewan? You've been in the game a while. You've traveled a lot.
Yeah, well, it has to be the Brand Center. I mean, when it's going, it's going. And I mean, I have been on both sides of some of the biggest games. I mean, back in 2018, 2017, when there was the highway was loaded with talent between Swift Current, Moose Jaw, and Regina. Every single game was incredibly, it was an honor to be part of it. And, I always thought coming in as a visitor, this is a tough place to be. And, now that I'm on the right side of it, it's excellent. And, our fans are great, and we hope that they continue to support us. And, our guys are trying their best, and they appreciate everybody that comes out as well.
As a coach of junior hockey players, I got to get you out on this one. You saw Canada at the World Junior Hockey Championships. You saw everything that happened in game number 1. As a coach, what are you doing to address that? And are we jumping off the handle saying that, oh my gosh, the sky is falling, the team is undisciplined, and we're going to fall apart?
Well, it was a weird thing, and I know Porter really well. I've coached him 3 times with Hockey Canada, camp at U17 out in Langley, and then at the U18s. He was our captain. We won the world championship and he was our captain. And so it was a little, I don't know, it was disappointing, I guess, from my side to see him because I have a bit of a relationship with him and I know what kind of person and values and character. And, I think Dale Hunter summed it up. It didn't hurt us. It wasn't the best thing, but it didn't hurt us. I think you got to remember it's a short-term event and it's wins. Wins is all that really matters. It's not how they come, whether it's 7-5 against Czech or 2-1 against Latvia. And, you'll see tonight against Denmark, it's all about the win and however you can get them. And I know that there's lots of pressure on those guys after the last couple World Juniors, but a lot of those players have won a number of gold medals for Hockey Canada, and we hope that we see that again at the end of this week.
So inside Hockey Canada, we may not see them walking behind the bus or riding home with their gear on or anything, but there probably would be accountability, I'm guessing.
Oh, yeah. There's that wouldn't have. And then when I say Dale Hunter said it didn't hurt us, I think that's the right thing to say, but I'm sure that there was a hard conversation with not just Porter, but the entire team.
Well, appreciate the feedback on that. And Ryan Smith, Pat's associate coach, good luck on Wednesday. Hopefully you can finish off 2025 with one more win there.
Yeah, thanks a lot, guys. Thanks for having me, and happy holidays to everybody out there.
Happy holidays. Ryan Smith of the Regina Pats, of course. Always appreciate the time in Pats Chat. It's brought to you by Southie Mainline. New Jeep, used Jeep, demo Jeep, old Jeep. They got Jeeps, in case you didn't hear.
I heard that.
Yeah, they are the king of trucks, but they also have Jeeps. There's actually the queen of Jeeps down there, so go see them. It's worth the drive every time, guaranteed. Pat's Chat for Southie Mainline. Coming up next, we're going to take a little bit of a trip back in time. This is our final Sports Cage show, but with Dave and I at least, of 2025. So we're kind of looking back in time a little bit here at the Riders season that was, and a reminder to text us if you want free tickets to the Pats. Prairie Land Rentals text line 306-936-6262. It's a Sports Cage on 620 CKRM and streaming at sportscage.com. I'm Teagan Witko, your Monday host of the Sports Cage, alongside voice of your Saskatchewan Roughriders, Dave Thomas, and Colson Schultz behind the board. As I mentioned, this is going to be our final Monday show of 2025, and of course I have the voice of the Roughriders right beside me here, so we kind of need to talk about a bit of a Riders year in review. We don't need to go too incredibly in depth, but obviously, aside from the obvious, winning the 112th Grey Cup. It was a pretty good year for the Riders. Even Doug from Aylesbury said that there was the Grey Cup was at the Elephant Bar on Saturday. Doug texted that in on the Prairie Land Rentals text line at 306-936-6262. And if you text us at any point, we only have so much time left, but you're entered to win Pat's tickets. But okay, Dave, I want to start with this clip from Luke Mullender. He called it all the way back in February.
I know it's way too early for this. This is predicated on how well the offense can do, but I don't see why the Saskatchewan Roughriders aren't the favorites to represent the West in the Grey Cup at the moment. I just think that they've got all the things. They've got the coaching staff right now. You saw their ability to navigate massive adversity last year, not just in terms of getting guys ready to play, but also playing in tough spots. I can't see why they wouldn't be the favorites in the West. I haven't really said that before. I know I've said that, they're going to be a really good team in the West, but man, I really think if that offense can go and get sustainable and really sort of catch their groove, and I think Armstead, by the way, is going to have a great year if he's healthy, I don't see why they don't represent the West in the Grey Cup, boys.
Well, Luke Mullender, he said best in the West back in February of 2025.
Nailed it.
Confident.
Nailed it.
We're just going to skim over Armstead. Don't worry about that.
Yeah, let's not go there. Why don't we talk about some of our favorite plays from the year, though? We asked Justin Dunk from 3 Down Nation about this earlier, and he brought up some really good ones. And there was even one, you know what, I'm going to start. Ooh. Yeah, this is the one that he was referencing. Okay, but I actually want to toss it over to you so we don't run out of time here, Colson, because you actually were the one who brought up the quick kick.
Yeah, and of course, the clip of it that I grab is right after the kick happens. But everyone remembers the Labor Day Classic.
Yep.
Yeah.
3rd and 6. Looks like we're going for it. And then Harris boots it down. Everyone in Rider Nation still thinks that's a safety, I'm pretty sure.
I know. I was thinking that myself when I saw that.
Yeah,
that's the safety play.
And then the Bombers march the field. Yeah, I'm going to skip ahead a little bit in this, but they march the field. Oh, that's too far. March the field, score, and then the pick 2, as we're calling it.
Yes.
Pick 2, yes.
Devon Campbell's pick 2, yeah.
That was an incredible moment. Oh, man. That was absolutely an electric crowd, too. As soon as Devon Campbell
and stepped in front of it. Yeah, It was.
There's also another play, and I'm going to go with Touchdown Tommy on this one.
Touchdown Tommy, okay.
Touchdown Tommy. This was in the West Final, 12 seconds remaining on the clock.
Harris, end zone! Touchdown! Touchdown Tommy Neal!
Absolutely incredible.
Seconds close to the offense.
Although, no offense to the TSN broadcaster, I would have much preferred to hear Dave.
Oh,
I only had so much time.
I know. I put a lot on you today.
If you want to hear Dave, here's another good one. Everyone remember Mario Alford in Toronto?
Remember it.
Has a seam to the 40, 50,
Let's go!
Alford down the sideline.
Let's
He
go!
will be caught. Two flags. Mario Alford. Touchdown. Riders.
You got the feeling.
Okay, and just to clarify, if you haven't heard the story yet, that was not Dave's voice cracking. That was Luke Mullender maybe almost knocking him out of the broadcast booth.
Yeah, it was an elbow to the ribs at a bad time, but unforgettable.
An unforgettable moment. I do know that we're running out of time, and we need to say our goodbyes right away here. But really quick, any other play that stands out to you, Dave Thomas?
The AJ Ouellette, where he caught after we fumbled it late, and an AJ Ouellette, and I remember I thought it was like a horse races. AJ Ouellette just went and took off, and after the ball lands in the Red Blacks' arms, going down the field, AJ Ouellette just does not quit and makes the tackle at the 17-yard line or something. And yeah, it was an incredible play because it was developing in front, and I was like waiting to say, here they come down the stretch, because it was just such a foot race for 100 yards.
But that was the moment where I think Rider Nation knew, oh, okay, AJ Ouellette will literally do it all.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yeah.
Running down the field, tackling the Ottawa Red Blacks, DL Bryce Carter. Yeah. Iconic moment.
That's true.
Iconic moment. Okay, I know we got to go. Unfortunately, we are over time, but I just want to say thank you to Dave Thomas for sticking it out with me. Thank you to Colson Schultz for making sure that we are running so smoothly all the time. And thank you for taking the time to chat with us, to hang out for the afternoon. This is the Monday edition of the Sports Cage. Barney will be back in tomorrow through Friday, minus the statutory holiday on Thursday. Thanks for coming along for the ride. This is the Sports Cage on 620 CKRM and sportscage.com.